Okay, we are live, and now I'm starting the music.
All right, roll it.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Here we go.
Carl would be
The Human Torch took out a bank
Halloween, Halloween, Halloween,
We watched a movie.
Silver Shamrock. Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween.
Someone's gonna fart.
Watched a movie. It's almost time, kids. The clock is ticking. Be in front of your TV sets for the horror month. Remember the big giveaway at 9.
For God's sake, please stop it. There's no more time.
I love
You've got to please stop it. Stop it now. Turn it off. Turn it off. Stop it.
This is great shit.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
I watched him for 15 years sitting in a room, staring at a wall, not seeing the wall, looking past the wall, inhumanly patient.
Inhumanly.
Yes.
For this night.
Down, Sheriff. Get your ass away from there.
Night.
I like it.
And he looks so proud of himself too. Thank you.
He does. He like. Yeah. I've done something.
On a night where I'm not doing much, I did something.
I want like an excerpt there, like except bathroom breaks. And I like in that one scene specifically when he like pulls back and he's like kind of proud of himself and he's like reveling in the fact that he's scared of some kid. Then he gets clapped on the shoulder by the kid and he's like, fuck! So, like, I was really disappointed. Like I was like, oh shit.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's Kathleen Kinmont.
Yeah.
I want to point that in there.
I love how I was on screen when the boobs came on. That was good.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that somebody did say that about you, Dave. They were like, I know, like the way that it was edited. They were like, Dave's got some nice bits. The way that it's
I do.
I know. Like, you're cool, man.
I take that as a compliment. I should. I'm wearing a bra right now.
I'm trying to pull it. I want to pull it up on my phone too, but it's not going to get out. I don't want to see it. I want to see it.
Laboratory kill. Love it.
There it is. 156 watching.
Nice.
Hopefully they're not watching this.
I got 233 watching now.
Alright, damn. I'm like reading over your shit. What's it say on view?
Well, during my live broadcast last night, I peaked at 250. So even if half of those tune in, on top of everybody else who's going to tune in from you guys, we could really hit a big mark.
Oh yeah.
We really some other community post out. Just we could do that shit now.
Yeah, mine keeps saying an error occurred. That sucks. On the live stream on my phone. That's bullshit. I don't understand. Maybe it's because it doesn't start till well, it's after 8.
Death has come to your little internet YouTube. We are here.
Yeah.
This is happening. I can't believe this is happening. I'm flabbergasted. Welcome to
Thank you, Lee.
Scream. This is a once, maybe twice in a lifetime event, unless they make another Halloween movie, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's just once.
yeah, feels good. We are here. Let me switch my OBS over, so don't panic. Your screen is fine. Okay, yeah. There they are, guys. You see them. We got Dave McRae. We got Mike
it going, guys?
and Jay from We Watched the Movie, and we got Cody Leach. Dave, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Lee, how are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. I'm holding it together. I've been a shitstorm all day. I'm gonna borrow a phrase from you, but
A shitstorm all day.
just nervous. A little bit nervous, but you know what? I like to jump right into things, head first. So,
Well, that's the best way to do it. Right into the swimming pool, Lee. Right into the pool.
let's go. We watched. Can I say a fucking movie? I'll just go ahead and say that we watched a fucking movie. Is here. Mike and Jay, how are you guys doing?
Look, don't curse on our channel, Lee.
Okay, sorry about that.
We're an organization. We don't do that.
Reinventing the image.
Yeah, rebranding.
We're great, man. How are you guys doing?
We're good, man.
And,
Good. It's almost not fair that Mike and Jay are as tanned as they are. I mean, this is ridiculous.
I know.
Yeah.
They're getting all the views because of their sexy faces right now. So
Cody and I need to go out and get some sun.
That's right.
I knew that spray tan would work off. Fuck yeah!
Actually, they're not tanned. It's the
we're
color
just like
correction
white.
that they have on their camera.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
yeah.
that's what I was telling Dave. It's like, we're gonna come on here and sound like, rednecks from 1972 because you got Dave with his, sweet and silky voice. You got Cody, who's a wonderful lover, and then you have
wonderful lover.
Drumdums, just like the nicest guy ever. So
It's a gift.
Right. Well,
It's a gift.
Fuck
the
this
mountain
movie.
of fat
Cody
climb.
Leach, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing fantastic, man. This is awesome. Can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Originally I was going to make this just, Mike, Jay, myself, and Dave. And then, like, kind of right at the last week, I was thinking, you know what? Maybe it would be cool to have somebody in there that's not full-on Halloween. Cody's a Nightmare guy. He loves Nightmare on Elm Street. So maybe it'd be a little bit interesting to get a different perspective from somebody that's not necessarily in love with Halloween as much as we are. And I will say that we all love Halloween at different degrees. Like Dave, I don't want to speak for Dave, but I'm pretty sure Dave is a purist. I call him a Halloween purist because he likes 1 and 2 the best. The rest, they're there. They're okay. And then Mike and Jay, I think they're kind of like me. We have our favorites in the series. We love the franchise as a whole. We even kind of like making fun of the bad ones. But well, Dave, would you say that that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, I'd say that. Well, yeah, I mean, I am a horror purist. I'd say that my favorite is the original by far. Halloween 2, I think, was a decent follow-up. I think it's far inferior to the original. And I think Halloween 4 is acceptable. I think it's a decent return. I don't think it's nowhere near as good as the first one and arguably may not even as good as the second one. But as I've mentioned 1,000 times, which a lot of the viewers probably know, where I believe the franchise took a turn was with 5. That's the catalyst that destroyed the franchise. So anything from 5 on, I probably haven't watched in years. So, yeah.
Well, then.
Yeah.
I might be the bigger Halloween fan then.
Hey, that's
I'm a huge Halloween fan, and that's why I called out. But I get what you're saying, yeah.
Nah, it's all good.
Mike and Jay, where do you guys sit as far as the franchise goes? Do you like all of them to some degree?
Yeah, I'll say, well, the local Hollywood video store that we used to have, the only copy that they ever had in stock back in the VHS days was Halloween 6. And we grew up just liking how fucking viscerally mean Myers was in Halloween 6. Now, we don't like that he, had sex with his niece, but there was...
It didn't happen, Chef.
Like, what?
But we're always huge Halloween 6 fans because it took it a step outside of the franchise a little bit where they just kind of broke some rules and said, fuck it, let's just get nasty, And that was pretty fun. And I can even get some enjoyment out of 5 if it just weren't for that god-awful mask, So
yeah.
I love...
Horrible.
Yeah, I personally love all the sequels just because it gives you just more shit to talk about. Like, I hope they make 38 Halloween movies just because you're not going to get any worse than Buster Rhymes and Resurrection, right? So we've already fucked it as far as you can fuck it.
Yeah.
So just treat, motherfucker. Let's just add chapters to the storybook.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like Halloween 6 to me was one of the better ones that came out. Like, I know that Halloween 5 really sucked a wiener. Like I'm just gonna be blunt with it. It got really nasty. And then when Halloween 6 came out, they had to go to a point where they got a fan actually wrote that script. I mean, they adapted it.
Yeah.
The movie studios adapted because they really wrote themselves into a corner in Halloween 5. They didn't know where to go. I mean, you had the guy with the steel-toed cowboy boots walking out, the shadowy guy, probably Travis Tritt. I don't know.
Travis.
Michael. But after Halloween 5, then Halloween 6 comes out. I don't know. It was like Mike said. It's visceral. It was angry, and I think it was a strike back at where they were in Halloween 5. But overall, yeah. As far as Halloween, like every movie has got something to give. I mean, it's got something good. I'm on the board with that. Yeah.
I mean, just to give my take on it, I've always. I think this kind of segues into my first topic. I was going to ask you guys what initially got you into the franchise. What is it about the franchise that you just love so much? For me, it started. I saw Halloween 4. I had seen the original, and I recognized the original as a classic, but I was 15 years old, and I saw Halloween 4 in the theater. And, I think the marketing for that really just got me, like, the return of Myers. This was 10 years after that night. And all of a sudden, I got really interested for some reason. And then when I saw it, first of all, the experience was just amazing. Like, the crowd was just so into it. And then that reveal at the end of, Jamie, becoming a killer. It scared the shit out of me for weeks, months, years, and it's really one of the few movies that's genuinely scared me, and it hooked me into the franchise. So I think that's one great thing about the Halloween franchise is there's just so much to grab onto. We're going to get into the timelines and all that. Cody, your quick thoughts on the franchise as a whole. I know you have, different likes and dislikes of the series.
Yeah, I've always loved the original. I grew up watching the original constantly. I didn't watch most of the others until later on in life. Like, I saw H2O in theaters. At the time, I loved it. It's still in my top 3, which is kind of rare for Halloween fans, but I definitely see the flaws more as I get older. I loved Halloween 3. Didn't see that for the first time until like 2 years ago, as well as the Thorn trilogy. Those are the ones that I kind of avoided. But I've always thought Michael Myers was cool. It just, to me, when I watch the Halloween series, it feels like it's a lot of derivative stuff. Like, there's a lot of, every movie to a degree is kind of the same thing. Oh shit, Michael's out again. Where's Loomis? You know what I mean? It's kind of, so I enjoy them. I think that it's more consistent than Nightmare is. Nightmare's got some serious low points, whereas Halloween, 5 really sucks. Resurrection, I don't hate it near as much as everybody else, but I definitely see where some of those things, like the very beginning and the very end, is fucking is hard to stomach for a Halloween fan. But I like the franchise. I'd say it's my second favorite of the big 3 for sure.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about Busta Rhymes today for some reason. He just kind of popped in my head. And I was just thinking, I was in the car with my wife, and she was like, "Why do you give Busta Rhymes such a hard time? He was that, he played that character." Now, and I thought about that, and I was like, well, yeah, I guess I'm not really mad at Busta Rhymes. I just don't like Freddy. The character that he played was just so obnoxious. He did a fine job for what was on the paper, but
it's true.
The character was just complete.
How much of a trolling genius would Jason Blum be if they just inserted like Busta Rhymes as like a paramedic or something in the new one for a second?
God.
Everybody be like, "Oh fuck!" And then he's
Michael Myers in a sound bite.
Or just one of his tracks. Like, they're in the car, they have one of his tracks playing. You know what I mean?
Doritos commercial would be perfect. Just throw that shit in there.
He's huge, by the way. Have you guys seen what he looks like now?
He's ballooned up.
If we ever run into him and Rob Zombie at a convention, our asses are kicked.
I'm not going to say shit.
Mike and Jay, I know you said that Halloween 6, you saw it in the video store. Was that really what got you into the franchise as a whole?
No. Jay got me into the franchise, actually. Okay. I was just a young innocent child. And
smoking dope.
Jay pulled up in a white van with some candy and
I got a bicycle in here.
No, I didn't watch the first Halloween or was even into horror movies until because we met when I was like in 5th grade, I think.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a thing with my friends or family, so I hung out with him and his brother, and we watched. I think one of the first nights we watched Nightmare 3. And I was like, this is supposed to scare the tits off me. It's fun, but I'm not scared. Then we watched the original Halloween, and I was just like, that's my shit, right?
That's how you scare people.
Right. That scares me. Yeah, but I don't know when you got into it, honestly.
What, with Halloween?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was an autumn day in 1977. The very first horror movie I remember watching was Nightmare on Elm Street. I grew up with I don't know, they were like 16, 17-year-old, guys that like they were like brothers to me, and I was a kid, so they showed me this stuff, uncles, and then there was Halloween that came a little bit after that, and I don't know, there was something about it like was different. Like I had seen Nightmare on Elm Street, I had kind of seen some of the Friday the 13th. There was something about Michael Myers himself, the character, that was so different than Jason or Freddy. I mean, they all have their own motive. Like Jason really just don't fuck with my Crystal Lake and you're good.
Yeah.
Freddy's like, I want revenge on these kids, on what their parents did. And Michael Myers has at first he had a singular purpose to, eliminate his bloodline, but then, they do kind of shift and move around that, but it was still something different about him. And yeah, it was, I think that it was Nightmare on Elm Street that got me. For some reason, somebody had Halloween that I saw, and that's really what. But Halloween 6 was one of the first ones I remember as a kid watching and really, really getting into it and going back and watching all the others and moving from there. So
Cool.
for sure.
That's cool.
Interesting. Yeah, Halloween 6 was a big one for me too. Seeing that, because after seeing 5 in the theater, I was like, damn, that was 4 was so awesome. I had this great experience, and then 5 was kind of a letdown. And then I saw 6, and it's funny because right after 6 came out, everybody was like, I don't know, people were hating on it really bad, and I always stuck to my guns. Did I say stuck to my guns? That makes no sense whatsoever.
CP's not here. It's okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Stock, whatever.
Yeah, but I always defended that movie. There was just something about it because it was just so dark. They chose to just go completely serious, make Myers the scariest motherfucker that's ever walked the earth. It just the color timing, everything about it was just. I loved 6, and it definitely has its problems, but and Loomis too. I think the big thing for me was Loomis dying. In real life, Donald Pleasance. I don't know. There's something about Donald Pleasance that there's just like a sadness in him, and it really came through in that movie. And that last scene with when you hear the no, and then you see the mask on the ground. I literally almost cried in the theater. I don't know what was wrong with me, but I miss that
too,
man
but
so
not
much.
For the same reason.
I think 6 has the most style since the first one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
It stands out the
I'd
most.
give you that.
Yeah, Dave.
I'd give you. Yeah. Yes, sir.
What now? Dave has almost 20 years doing incredible voiceover work. I've looked at some of your work; it's amazing. But the one thing, it's like you love this franchise so much. You've even made a fan film, which I've reviewed actually, and your fan film's like very well done. I mean, you know how to put a film together, sir. So, what is it that got you into Halloween, and were you just a big horror fan in general?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm 39, so I was a kid growing up in the 80s, and if you were a kid growing up in the 80s, for some strange reason, at least all the kids that I knew, we were all watching horror movies, and it seemed kind of like now you wouldn't let your kids watch some of the horror movies that are, but for some reason, back in the 80s, we were all doing it, and I was into Freddy before I was into Michael, and it was my older brother Neil. Neil's about 9 years older than me, and he really liked Halloween. And the reason why he liked Halloween so much is because, according to him, it was the first horror movie that he ever saw that never gave him nightmares. So he introduced me to Halloween. I was maybe, 6. And I watched it, and I fell in love with it. Even at that young age, I fell in love with this. I like the mask. I like the fact that even at that age, for some reason, I could intellectualize the concept of, I knew that it was smart for some reason. I knew that there wasn't a lot of blood, there wasn't a lot of gore in comparison to Freddy, but for some reason, this was scary. I was able to understand why this was scary, but yet being a complete 180 in terms of its visual aesthetic and presentation from Freddy, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So I really liked it. I liked the mask, and I grew to really appreciate the character. And then I watched Halloween 2, and I liked that movie. And then I was still too young to go and see Halloween 4 in the theater. I was only 9. But I did see Halloween 6 in the theater. I was 16 and I looked like I was 48, and but a planned vacation with the family.
Looks like we're back, guys.
Or you'd be away for.
Are we back? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let me check. I told you. I told you my internet takes a crap sometimes.
Hey, guys in the chat, let us know as soon as you can see us good again.
Yeah.
Let me fix.
We'll wait 30 seconds and then we'll check in.
Yeah. Somebody said that Buster Rhymes fucked the feed.
Watch yourself.
Yeah.
That's
Everybody in the chat, I do apologize. We did go down for a little bit, but we are back. We were talking about, I know Dave was giving us his backstory with Halloween. Was there anything else that you wanted to give us, Dave, before we dive into the main topics?
Is it a coincidence that the feed went down while I was done? I'm just saying.
Bullshit.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where I cut out, so I'll just keep this brief. Yeah, I remember seeing Halloween 6 in the movie theater when I was only 16 years old. I was able to get in because I looked older, and my buddy was not able to get in because he looked a lot younger, and he went and saw 7, and I went and saw Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. And I don't remember liking the movie, but I remember liking the fact that it was my first Halloween movie that I saw in the theater. And I remember thinking that was cool. So I think I probably psyched myself out to like it more at the time than I actually did. It was just great to see Myers on the screen. So yeah, I mean, you know, I'm a horror purist, yes, in the sense that I look at it like this. It's kind of like where you have Star Wars right now. So many people argue back and forth. Well, I did this and I want this, and it really, in this day and age, all comes down to where you fall. Yeah. I really like the original intent of the character. I like Carpenter's original envision, the absence of character, the absence of motive, not really any rhyme or reason why he's doing what he's doing. And he was a mortal being with supernatural elements. So he was human, but he had that supernatural vibe, and you weren't quite sure what he was. And then, of course, he became literally immortal in the later sequels because he had to justify why he was still around. And it's not wrong. Like, you know, people say, well, I think he's immortal. Well, you're not wrong because he did become that. And, well, I think he's mortal. Well, you're not wrong either. Like, because the timeline's so fucked up and because everything is just, you know, all over the place, it really, it becomes very person specific at that point. Yeah. So for me, I like the original sort of intent of the character. I think it's scarier. And I think, the fact that they've gone back to that with this new film is interesting. I know it pissed a lot of people off, understandably so, but it's an interesting sort of, I don't know where else you would have gone. I mean, everyone's like, do a sequel to Resurrection. You're not fucking doing a sequel to goddamn Resurrection, okay? Nobody wants that shit. I mean, some people do, but... You know,
well, I think Halloween is like
go
a perfect
after
representation.
that. What is it about Busta Rhymes? Jesus. Go on.
As far as like John Carpenter goes, I think that he's the reason why the first Halloween, like if you put a director of that caliber, John Carpenter back in the 70s and 80s, arguably, was really at the top of his game. And if you put a director of that caliber behind a little slasher movie, you get Halloween. And I think that's the big one of the big reasons why we're still talking about it this day, because there's very little blood in the movie, but it's still chilling. Like I saw the original Halloween on the big screen 2015 when they do this thing called flashback cinema, and I went and saw it, and I was like, I've seen Halloween, I don't know, I watch it twice a year, I've seen it probably 100 times. It's still, there's just something about that movie, especially when you see it on the big screen. It just gets under your skin, you know. It's just one of those types of films, and I think that's why it's still around to this day. But now jumping into the trailer, because that's one of the big reasons why I wanted to do this stream. I wanted to talk about this trailer with all you guys. First off, just, I mean, real quick, likes and dislikes. Mike and Jay, what were your expectations of this trailer, and were they met once the trailer came out?
First me. Okay, well, I was hoping that Busta Rhymes would come back and show us all.
It's all going to make sense.
I know. Well, I think the main thing that I was hoping is that they would recapture what Dave was talking about earlier, what made Michael so special in the first one, kind of reimagine him, but keep the good parts that Carpenter felt was the best parts of him. You know, the element of, I don't know what he is. I don't know. He's a hurricane force. Like he's a mortal being, but there's something about him. There's a force about him that I can't explain that wants to take everything out in front of him. Like, you know, I wanted him to have some of that, but I also wanted them, you know, as much as I absolutely despise Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, but I wanted them to take the elements, the visceral, violent parts of Michael and put them and incorporate them in this as well. And overall, I think that they did that really well as far as what they showcased in this trailer. The dislike, as far as what I didn't like, there wasn't much. I mean, I'm still a little bit iffy on the, which I know why they're doing it for. I understand that having Laurie and Michael not related kind of opens it up for a new kind of storytelling possibility. But still, it kind of irks me a bit. And I mean, Dave would probably agree. He's a purist. If you're going to say you're a purist, you got to get what I'm saying. So that kind of removes me slightly, but it's not that big of a deal. And the other part, I just want to know what kind of fucking security do they have at a psychiatric unit that they allow a dude with a mask? Nobody checked his ass and be like, hey, Michael, check this shit out. You remember when you killed? Remember when you did that with this mask? And like, let me get a reaction. Like, check that shit. I mean, it was a small like.
Think fast.
Yeah, does this remind you of anything? Coconuts? That was it.
It's funny that the one thing that you could pick apart the most about it was how in the fuck did he get that mask in there?
I know.
Is visually one of the most interesting things about the trailer. Like when I first saw the trailer, once that scene popped up and you hear the dog barking, and I was like, my heart was pounding. I was like, holy shit, he's showing Myers the mask from 40 years ago. That scene hooked me. Like, oh shit, this movie's gonna be badass. But yeah, like you said, you could like, I want to know how in the hell this guy gets that mask in there.
Yeah, wouldn't it have been locked up in a police room, like evidence room or something? I mean, did he have it?
Someone let slip in one of the interviews that it's actually been in an evidence locker.
Oh, okay, so
I read that, so. But
he's a fucking thief.
Well, what pissed me off is how he fucking held it, man. Like, you're gonna take a mask and you're just gonna hold it by its shitty hair, you know? Like, you guys have masks, you know, you grab that thing by its hair, that shit's coming out, you know?
Yeah.
One of the big questions that I get a lot too, I get a lot of people saying,
Dave, do you think the British guy is related to Dr. Loomis? And I'm like,
no, I don't, and for this reason. So for anybody in the chat who thinks that could be I mean, I guess it's possible. Anything's possible, but I don't think it's likely because we know that he's killed in the first act of the movie. So I think why make him his son or his grandson, or what would be the point of that to make this guy related to Loomis? I think the reason why they're British documentary filmmakers, at least this is how I see it, is, and not American or Canadian or whatever the case is because they want to show the reach of the story. So they want to show that that even though this happened in a small town 40 years ago, the story has become legend and it reaches beyond the borders of even this continent. So it's sort of that, wow, even, you know, we got this team from overseas that are coming over to do all this kind of thing. That's why I think they're British documentary filmmakers. I don't think there's necessarily a Loomis tie-in.
Plus, I mean, if there was a Loomis tie-in, I think they mentioned that Sartain character. You guys remember that? The dude that just kind of a SWAT. He looks like the dude from the Dos Equis commercials, you know? I think they mentioned, like, if there is a tie to Loomis, it's this guy. And actually, in that scene, you can see him faintly in the trailer in the background. He's kind of blurred out, but when the dude's holding the mask, he's standing behind, and I'm like, that's fucking Sartain. I don't know who the fuck Sartain is, but that's fucking him.
Well, and remember, too, when the British guy at the beginning of the trailer says he was shot by his own psychiatrist. Well, why would he say his own psychiatrist, not just say he was shot by my dad? You know,
my dad shot him.
I don't really see. I mean, that may be a matter of semantics at the end of the day, but I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. But anyway, sorry, I just had to capitalize on that.
Oh, you're dead on, man.
Yeah, Cody, tell me your thoughts on the trailer.
Wait, we forgot Mike.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead. My bad.
Go with yourself.
I just thought we were going in order. Like, okay.
No. You're right. You're
I'll
right.
just
I'm
shut
sorry,
up.
Dave.
Is it likes or dislikes or expectations?
Yeah. Tell me about like what you wanted from the trailer, and then, you know, if you liked it or disliked it after, and what you liked about it.
Oh, okay. What I wanted out of it, man, I just wanted it to be something that nobody complained about. Like, I just didn't hate following it. Like, I'm rooting for this movie so fucking hard that it maybe puts me on the wrong side of the fence or makes me illegitimate or whatever. But I just want it to succeed, because if it succeeds, we get more. And even if it's not more of Michael, it's more of shit like this. So like, I'm just rooting for it. You know, I just wanted it to be great, and I think it was. And I think what I like most about it is that when you watch it, it feels like a filmmaker made it. When you look at that shot of the yard that we've been talking about, like, these are almost altruistic shots in a weird way that you don't typically get in a Halloween movie. And it's not going to get like, you know, it's not going to be like an A24 film or anything. It's a slasher, you know, but it's taken seriously. It's not done by the Weinsteins, you know, it's not out there to make a buck. And it feels like they really cared about the shots that they used. It feels like, and David Gordon Green, that's what he is. He's a filmmaker. He's never even done a horror film, you know?
Yeah.
So I think I really felt that presence in the trailer. That's what I liked about it the most. Honestly, I didn't dislike anything about it. Like, I I can't think of anything I didn't like about it.
Your answer was way better than mine. I feel like Ron Burgundy. I'm Ron Burgundy.
Did we just become best friends?
Yep. Summed it up.
No, I agree. Like, I'm like you, Mike. I'm a fanboy and a half. I knew that when I watched this trailer, there was a really good possibility that I was probably going to be flipping my shit, which I did. But, you know, I know that there's a lot of people out there that aren't necessarily big Halloween fans that saw this trailer and flipped their shit. We're like, wow, this looks like this is going to be actually really good. So the thing about this movie is, too, is like I've been doing updates for Halloween for 3 years now. Back then, I never thought that Halloween would get this kind of buzz. You know, I thought we have our little niche crowd. We love Halloween. And then, you know, our movie will come out and we'll rejoice and it'll be over and then we'll move on. Now, here we are. And the Halloween trailer trended at #1 the day it came out to YouTube. Everybody, when I look at my YouTube feed, I just see tons of. It's like what you see for like the Marvel and MCU and Star Wars. I'm seeing that for Halloween, which is crazy to me. So yeah, I'm with you, Mike. It seems like they've been delivering on everything. Like, well, you're gonna get this, and then you'll get some people saying, no, that's probably not gonna pan out, and then it does pan out, and then you got this awesome trailer. So it's a good time to be a Halloween fan. I guess that's my message there. Cody. Now, you are not the biggest Halloween fan. I mean, it's not your #1 franchise. Let me ask you this. Did you think that this trailer was going to be good being a casual Halloween fan?
I certainly hope so, because it needed to be, for all the reasons that you know, Mike was saying. I didn't want this trailer to come out and be like that thing where like it's split down the middle. Everybody hates it or you love it, or, you know, so it needed to be. It needed to come out and make a statement that Halloween's fucking back. Yeah. So I was waiting very patiently, much more patiently than most, where I was like, okay, hopefully, you know, I wasn't chomping at the bit, like I wasn't cussing people out at Upgrade. There's supposed to be a fucking trailer in front of this movie, like, you know. So I was looking forward to it. And my expectations with it was, like Mike was talking about, a filmmaker. I was looking for it to look like it had its own style, but also kind of was harkening back to that original movie, but I wanted it to look like he said, a filmmaker made it, because I didn't want it, you know, Blumhouse just be like, hey, put down the coffee, you're directing the next Halloween, come here. You know what I mean? So David Gordon Green, he's the guy that, like he says, never done horror before. He's the closest thing he has is Joe, which is a pretty dark movie, but it's more of a family drama kind of thing, but it's a really good movie. But ever since the beginning, I've just been really morbidly curious about this. Like the top video on my channel is the update that I did whenever they released the news that Jamie Lee was coming back, and everybody was like, holy fuck, and I was like, I don't know about this, guys. And the more news that got released, you know, that Danny McBride was writing it. Okay, well, that could be really cool. And David Gordon Green's directing it. That's interesting. That could be cool. And then the John Carpenter's going to produce. So, like, well, is he going to be there, or is he just going to be like, all right, that shot looks good, guys. I'm done. And then the biggest thing that sold me on it, though, was, you know, because I'm a huge fan of the original movie, was the fact that they were going back, ignoring everything after the first one. They're getting rid of the sibling thing, because I'm one of the few people that's never loved that angle. I understand why, just like Dave was saying, why that you needed something like that for a motivation for a franchise. But I love the original concept of Michael, of just this motiveless evil, just blank slate, pure evil. I kill because I kill. You know what I mean? So the fact that they're getting back to all of that, that's what excites me. That's what it worries a lot of fans, because like a lot of the comments I've gotten on the trailer reaction, like, oh, this is bullshit. You know, he's supposed to be killing his family. This is going to be retarded. And I'm like, not if you watch the original movie, you know. So it's I'm excited for it. And just like Mike was saying too, even if the movie isn't the greatest thing in the world, I hope it succeeds like a motherfucker, because I want another Freddy, I want another Jason, and we're not going to get him anytime soon if this thing shits the bed.
Yeah. Yep. I definitely want another Freddy and another. I actually really want another Nightmare movie. Not to, you know, veer off, but you know, after the last Nightmare movie, which I liked, but I definitely had problems with, I would love to get another Nightmare movie, actually, and I wouldn't even mind if it was a sequel to that one. So, but that's another story.
It crushed it at the box office.
My next topic I want to talk about is Jamie Lee Curtis. Obviously, she's a big reason why this thing's so big, whether we like her or not. Dave, if Jamie Lee Curtis wasn't in this movie, would you be as interested?
Oh yeah. Yeah, 100%. Because she doesn't have to be in the movie.
Right.
If they're going back to the original intention of the character, which was just by chance that he was, she happened to be the, flavor of the day in 1978. She doesn't have to be in this movie. It helps that she's in this movie to give context and to give a link, of course. And from a purely business perspective, it makes sense. Yes, I understand that. But
Legitimizes it a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. But she doesn't have to be in it. And if we're looking at, if this is a direct sequel to the original and Michael Myers is killing for no reason, which is great. Okay, fine. There's no reason why she has to be in it. So I might even be more interested if it was announced that she said thanks but no thanks, or she was not into it. I'd be very curious to see, okay, how are they going to do this? Because now it doesn't even have to take place in Haddonfield.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it could take place anywhere, in theory. So, yeah, I mean, it's always fun to see her back, and it's always fun for nostalgia sort of purposes. But like I've often said to people, one of the number one things or the number one questions I'll get is, do you think Michael and Laurie's going to die? Do you think Laurie's going to die? Do you think Michael's going to die? I don't think Michael's going to die. I would love him to die personally, because I think it would I just like to get out when the going's good.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of stories. I understand that he's most identified with the brand and the franchise. I get that 100%.
Yeah.
And there will probably be another sequel. I mean, I'm sure there will be. But at the end of the day, I've always said, how interesting would it be? And it's not to say that it would work, but how interesting would it be, because we're in the era where the term anthology is more in the pop culture consciousness now. And they tried to do that with Halloween 3 in 1982, I guess it was, or whatever it was. It didn't succeed because what the hell is this shit, right? In 2018, thanks mostly in part to Star Wars and the Marvel films and building sort of universes. Not that you want to build a Halloween universe per se, but what I'm trying to say is that there are other creepy, eerie, fucked up, weird, messed up, scary stories that you could tell within the same universe. Maybe it takes place in a town 50 miles down the road, and in that movie, there so happens to be a paper on the table, and you see something about Haddonfield, or so it's connected. That the Michael Myers thing did happen, but there's this other thing that's happening, and I would be open to that. And the reason why I say that is because if you do a bunch of sequels, and with or without Jamie Lee, you're going to begin to do the very thing you were trying to avoid by doing the sequel in the first place, right? They always said they want to go back to the roots, go back to the essence of who he was, who the character was. If you make 4 or 5 more, you're going to have to make him immortal to justify the fact that he's alive still and he's 86.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm always kind of like, get out while it's good. Anyway, that's sort of on another thing. I went off on a tangent there. But Jamie Lee, I think it's unnecessary, but it's always fun to see her back.
Yeah, my thought on that was, and I mentioned this in like one of my updates, that I would like this to be part of a trilogy. It's cool that Jamie Lee's back, but if she's back, I don't want them to go the same route that they did with H2O, because we've seen that before. That's kind of my biggest reason. So what would be cool is if, I guess, Michael wins and Laurie is killed, and then we do a third movie making this a trilogy, and because to me it's interesting to see where do we go if Jamie Lee is killed in this, or Laurie.
I agree.
Yeah.
Totally.
That really interests me. Like, I would love to see what that next movie's going to be now that Michael has won and Laurie Strode is dead.
Laurie Strode's not. Sorry, I just want to say she's not making it out of this film. I don't think that she's making it out of this film. And the reason why she's not is because if she survives this movie, then why? And I mean, come on, the chances of Jamie Lee Curtis coming back for another one, okay, maybe, but we know how she feels about this, right? Is very low. Well, if she survives, why isn't she in the next one? Yeah. Right. I mean, why is it? What's the reason she's not there? So I don't think she's going to make it out, and I don't think she will. And I don't think the sequel necessarily has to take place in Haddonfield. I mean, eventually you'd move out of the fucking town, right? It's like that show, Stranger Things. Like how many strange things have to happen in Hawkins for people to go fucking out of here?
Jesus Christ, the market value has gone fucking down.
Exactly. Exactly. It's kind of like, holy shit, move that. Oh, no, man, this is great. Welcome to
My
I
next
can buy-
question was for Mike, actually.
Serious?
As far as like, Jamie Lee is pretty much Sarah Connor in this next movie. And I do like that they're going a different route, because in H2O she was, just this mental, on medication all the time, just this waif of a person until she finally just stands up to him. Mike, do you think that it's a good idea to make Laurie Strode Sarah Connor?
I just think, like, what else can you do? Like, I mean, like when you look at it, it's like what they did with H2O. It was kind of cool what they did with Laurie. Like, the rest of the movie is what it is, but what they did with her was kind of cool. So if you bring her back at all, you're doing H2O again. I mean, there's at least going to be threads of that.
Yeah.
So what they have to do is have that thread there, have it matter, because you needed Jamie Lee for, like, okay. So for when they brought Jamie Lee back, it wasn't like oh my god, I needed Jamie Lee back. It was just like I was excited because it said, okay, we're taking this seriously. Like, if you have Jamie Lee Curtis in this movie, like, people are taking it seriously. It's a star name attached to it. It's not going to be fucking Hellraiser, shopping cart part time.
Don't forget the detective.
Yeah, that meant something. That brought weight to it, But then when you start to look at it, you're like, well, fuck, I don't want to see H2O all over again, But she even said, like, the only reason she came back for H2O, the only reason she came back for part 2 was because she thought, hey, I owe it to the franchise to tie my character's storyline up. Then she came back for H2O to tie her character's storyline up. Then she had to come back for H2 or for H8 to tie her fucking storyline up. So now she's back again, and like I like my favorite thing is that she's fucking crazy. Like, just make her, don't be like, oh, I'm drunk on wine, and I'm a dean of, I'm not doing that bad if I'm a dean of an entire college,
Yeah.
She's not doing that horrible. Make her fucking crazy in the backwoods shooting mannequins with a magnum. Like, I like that. So
That's a great idea.
I want to see that shit.
I want to see that.
But once they did that, I want to see her, like, they hinted at it with her singing. It wasn't in the trailer, but it was in the teaser where she's like singing to herself, like just the two of us.
Oh yeah.
I like make her fucking nuts and then kill her off, but I'm with you guys. What makes me most excited is seeing what Michael is going to do now. Like, what's he going to do now that Laurie's dead in the next sequel? Right. That's really exciting because, and I'll cut this off because I'm getting kind of long here, but I always mentioned, when you mentioned Star Wars, when they brought back The Force Awakens, it was like, okay, we're bringing the franchise back, and we're not going to tell you we're going to do this, but basically we're going to recreate the first film to bring everybody back into it, because it's kind of what they did. But what excited me was, even though I thought that was fantastic, okay, now you have to take all these toys and make a new story with them. Now what are you going to do? And I feel like they're kind of doing that with this. They're bringing back a little of the first movie. They're tying that together. But the second movie is really going to be exciting because they have free reign. And so did Rob Zombie with H2, but let's just not talk about that little guy.
Yeah, they do have free reign, but what I'm worried about, as I've said, and I'd love to know how you guys feel on it, is you don't want to pigeonhole yourself either. Because, as I said, the whole reason why they're negating the sequels is, and going back to the roots, is to bring Michael back to the original intent of the character. Well, if your goal, and I understand from a business perspective why they're doing it, of course, I get it. But if your goal now is to start a new string of sequels, Michael is going to become the very thing you were trying to avoid by doing this movie in the first place. Mm-hmm. So that second movie is really pivotal. It's like, well, what's going to happen here? Are we going to do 3 or 4 films that all take place within a couple of years? So Michael can remain between 61 and 64, or are these movies going to be over 20 years and now he's 88? Like, I mean, so what's the end game here?
Yeah,
that's the only thing I'm worried. That's the only thing. Yeah, that's the only thing I'm. Sorry, say again.
Like James Bond, let's just James Bond it. Let's just not talk about that little guy.
Yeah, that's
as he's floating down with this fucking rascal.
It's the one thing I'm worried about, because I say to fans, I say, if you, I mean, the more sequels you do, the potentiality goes up that the shittier and shittier they're going to become. And that's what I'm worried about. Like, if you want to do 1 more, wrap it up. Hey, okay, cool. But if you're going to do 8 more with Michael Myers, he's going to be 90. Like, I mean, what's the end game? That's sort of my concern. Yeah.
I don't want to take it over here. Let me ask you this though. I know it sounds kind of weird, but now that you got all these open timelines, you're right. Like if you go and you got it, it's going to go there. It's just going to get to shit town. It's going to go there. What if though they did their own story with this, and then they said it made so much fucking money, we got to make another one. Now let's make H9. You know what I'm saying? Wake up in the fucking morgue. Hey, let's jump from H6. Let's carry on the Rune storyline.
Depending on how good
2018 we live in, we could do it.
I'm gonna roll a D10. Michael can't move for 3 moves.
Well, if that's your goal, like if that's your end game, okay, fine. But then you have to destroy Michael in this movie because you have to wrap him up, and then if he wants to, yeah, exactly. I just worry about it. I just think because the whole purpose of this movie was sold on the idea that we're going back to the roots of the original. We're negating even Halloween 2, which I was surprised by, but they're negating that, which I get it. Okay. We're going to make him mortal. Danny McBride even said, he's like that guy that's out by your trash, in the morning. I get, okay, great. Yeah, I get it. But then, so what are you going to do? You have a 61-year-old guy that's old, but it's not old. So, I mean, okay, he's still in that realm of he could fuck shit up if he wanted to. Okay, fine. But if you're planning on in 2028, are we going to have Halloween 6, a new Halloween 6? Well, what is this? Like, where are you going in this reality? It's supposed to be grounded in reality. And that's my concern, is that eventually it's going to start going the way of, you're going to see some guy getting off a bus with black boots.
I was going to say, let's bring back the guy from H6 and have him do some weird shit.
I'm telling you, what we need. It was Travis Tritt.
I agree.
Which brings me to Reverend Sayer. Yeah, he's got to make an appearance. What's funny is I watched The Prowler today, and I didn't realize that the premise is kind of like, you have a killer that's 40 years ago or almost 40 years ago, and then the movie jumps forward to the present day, which was 1980, and he's this old guy, doing the killings. And I was like, oh my God, that's like this movie. Jay, do you like that Myers is 60 years old? Does that bother you at all? And would you mind them going forward with more movies with an older killer like this?
I don't see age. I just want to point that out.
He doesn't. You should see the girls he picks up. You know what I mean?
So bad. It's like a myriad of. It's a
fine one.
Shit. No, I don't mind that he's an elder. I think, like Dave said, he could still fuck some shit up as far as the way that if they're going to go and wrap it up with the Jamie Lee Curtis storyline in this one. I know that maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here as far as where we're going to go with the topics, but I know that there was mention that Danny McBride was going to do a sequel, or he was working on back-to-back movies with this one and another one to follow up this film, and Myers probably won't die. But as far as him being 61 years old, I think that he won't make it out of the McBride trilogy, the double feature that McBride's going to do. I think that ultimately what they'll do is, again, it's going to be confusing for fans, and I understand that, but I think that they will. To me, I think it's like John Carpenter's the definitive vision that he wanted for Myers. He wants something to kind of lock it up and be done with it. And he's he kind of got fucked with H2O. That was probably going to be their last hurrah, and then it kept going, and then you got Busta Rhymes because he makes good rap songs. And then after that, he's like, well, shit, well, go give Rob Zombie a chance. Then Rob Zombie, whatever, he was writing a new song. But then you get here now, and they're like, okay, so McBride comes in, he gets a great script, an older Myers, going to track down Jamie, leave it vague as far as the relationship, or there's no relationship. And then John Carpenter's jumping on board. He's like, okay, if you're going to end it right, I'm on board with it. And I don't think it's a problem as far as them doing that. If they do that, they wrap it up, and then they go from there to, say, like Mike was saying, a Halloween 9. Now, I'm not saying a direct sequel to Halloween 8 or Halloween 6, just kind of an alternate thing. I mean, again, it's going to confuse fans a little bit, I think. Yeah. Maybe just a tiny bit. But still, I think that this movie and one more after that with the current version of Myers being in his 60s, it's all right. It's okay.
Yeah, I like that they're actually, they're planning ahead, but not too far ahead, because I think when you start planning too far ahead, then you get yourself in trouble. So they're thinking, okay, if this movie's a hit, we can make one more movie. So what would we want for that movie? Let's do this, which I think that's great. I don't know if they did that for Halloween 5. I think Halloween 4 was, to that, it was a minor hit and then they thought, oh, let's make another movie, but we have nowhere to go really, so let's just throw in this guy with the freaking cowboy boots, Travis Tritt. Cody,
He will forever be known as Travis Tritt.
I know. You guys put that in my head. I wasn't even thinking of that, but yeah, it looks like Travis Tritt. Cody, do you want them to go forward for what? Let's say like 3 more movies after this? Because if this thing is a hit, there's no way that they're not gonna try to milk it for as much as they can. If they do that, what kind of trajectory do you think they should go?
I mean, look, as long as the movies are good, make as many as you want to make. But realistically speaking, since we're slasher fans and we know that eventually the shit's coming, I would say safe bet is maybe 1, maybe 2 more movies.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't want them to just, make this one and then cut it off again. Like I've said, we've had this debate on Killer Flicks the past couple of weeks since the trailer. I don't want Michael Myers to die in this movie. As cool as it would be for an isolated story to bring back Jamie Lee as kind of this swan song and get her character right and give her the ending that she deserves and have Michael die and there's all this poetry to it, that'd be great. But realistically, this movie's going to make a fuckload of money, and they're not going to stop here. So you're either going to get one of 2 things if you kill Michael. You're either going to get a completely new timeline again, which is going to be like the 8th timeline now, or they're going to have the problem they had with H2O where they say, well, fuck, we killed Michael, but we got to make another one, so let's write some bullshit reason why he's actually alive, and everybody will just ignore it for the first 5 minutes and we'll make another movie. And I don't want either one of those. So, if Jamie Lee dies in this movie, fine, because I think this movie is more of her redemption than it is Michael's redemption, because Michael doesn't really need to be redeemed. You can go on with Michael and everybody be just fine. I see, if they're going to make a sequel, if they're getting rid of the family motivation, then it's either just going to be, okay, we've wrapped up the Jamie Lee thing. They had their final confrontation. She died in a good way, and fans are satisfied now, hopefully. So now Michael's going to go off, and we're going to tell this new story. And hopefully it's just not just going to be, oh, well, now Michael's coming back to kill the daughter and the granddaughter. Or the other thing, which nobody's really expecting to happen, but crazier things have happened, is Jamie Lee lives and becomes Loomis for a movie or 2, to where, let's say at the end of this movie, she thinks that she's killed Michael and everything's good, and you kind of get that classic Halloween ending where she looks and there's just the imprint of the body and oh fuck, and then all of a sudden Michael's stabbing the shit out of her daughter and her granddaughter, and then the cops come and they we got him, everything's cool, and they drive off and they wheel him away, and then the next movie is Jamie Lee trying to break into the asylum to fucking kill his ass for revenge, and now we got Halloween 2 in an insane asylum. Who knows?
No, that's a great idea, and because with the ending of this movie, I mean, one of a couple of things is going to happen, obviously, because I mean, if you end the movie in the same sort of fashion as the original did, where he's gone, well then I mean, is he going to be caught at the end of this movie and thrown back into Smith's room, only in the next one to break out again? I mean, it's a little redundant and repetitive. So I agree with Cody that you either kill Laurie, which is more than likely what's probably going to happen. I'd be surprised if Jamie Lee Curtis came back. Money talks, but I don't think she has I think she has a appreciation for the franchise, because obviously she makes money off of it even when she's not working on it, and certainly she it was her first film, it was her first big break, so she has that sort of nostalgic tie to it, but I don't think she has the affection for it that a lot of fans have, nor more so than Harrison Ford does with Star Wars. So I think it's sort of, I don't see her being excited to come back. I think she'll probably die. But as Cody said, well, then what happens now? Then Michael, obviously, you're going to, at the end of this film, she dies. Is he locked up again and caught? Woo! People lock him up and he's there in the chains. He gets thrown. Well, then what the hell are we going to do? He's going to break out again, in the second one? So if Laurie dies, Michael's gone. If Laurie dies, it's an ambiguous ending to the point where we don't know what's happened to him, which is sort of kind of like the first one. Yeah, that's.
Which is why I think that, I mean, who the fuck knows what they're going to do, but that just kind of came to me while we were all talking, like where we could go with a sequel. That'd be kind of cool to switch it up. Now Michael's not breaking out. Now somebody's coming for his ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so that'd be,
no,
it's not.
I would see that being like a Halloween 4 type ending. We're like, okay, everything's good, everything's wrapped up in a nice little bow, and then all of a sudden, like, oh fuck, my daughter and my granddaughter are in 18 pieces in my bedroom, and then okay, we got them. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're good. Go back.
I think guys, I think you guys would agree that even that has a shelf life as well.
Oh, it does.
Laurie, over the next 4 or 5 minutes, what is he? It's like, holy
1 or 2 at most.
like,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Yeah.
And then it's going to become, she's going to become this real crazy. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I think you could, realistically speaking, as Cody said, I think realistically, I'm not talking about fans. No, I don't care if they're good. I just want a Michael Myers movie every year. It's like, okay, you get those people. But realistically speaking, good, a decent, I think you could get a decent, sequel, maybe one more, maybe. But if they're like, no, man, we're going to turn this into like 4 or 5, holy shit, Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know how they would do it. I just don't know how they do it. I just want them to like just fucking figure it out.
well, yeah, if you don't care about the original intent of the character per se, at the end of the day, if you just want Michael in movies, then yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just having him in movies and you hope they're good enough.
Yeah.
But for me, I think because I care so much about the character and because it was such an ingenious thing that Carpenter did, and I only speak for me, of course, but I see such an opportunity to go out on such a high note, doing justice to what came before, that I just don't want them to dilute and ruin that by 4 or 5 more movies. And that's my only fear.
I think if they do, like you guys said, like 1 or 2 more, if they somehow squeeze a trilogy out of this serious tone that they've got, like, if you're talking 2 movies, you're talking like 4, 5, 6, 7 years, like depending on how long it takes to make. That's a long time, and then anything could grow out of that. Something could come up or whatever, and even if it doesn't, that's 7 years. 7 years from now, another reboot might not sound that fucking crazy. So it could be anything.
And it all depends on the size of the production as well. I mean, if it's a small production like this movie that was shot in 5.5 weeks, they could dish out 1 a year if they really wanted to.
Don't say that. Don't even speak that into existence. This is Blumhouse.
I don't want that to happen either.
This shit.
This is
black magic. I don't want that to happen either.
We got the fucking paranormal movies. We had Saw. Do not Saw the Halloween movies.
No, I agree with you 100%.
An October fucking tradition.
Realistically,
Halloween 8.
the complexity of the production is what I mean. That in theory, it's not a very complex production.
Exactly.
So that worries me as well for the obvious reasons, as you just said. But as Mike said, I mean, yeah, I think realistically you could get 1, maybe 2, but then what? Then where's the we really care about this and that's why we're doing this? And that's where I thought that maybe the anthology, I know it's not a popular thing to say, but if it was done, I mean, look at, some people are starting to come around to Halloween 3. They're starting to come around and go, well, if you remove Halloween 3 from the movie and you just pretend it's this movie called Season of the Witch minus the scene on the TV with, Halloween, if you just look at it, look at it on its own merit, it's all right. It's not great, but it's all right.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not bad, right? So
awesome.
To do something like that, I mean, what would a modernized Halloween 3 look like? What would a low budget, really creepy, really eerie, what would other fucked up, I just think there's opportunity. Michael has a shelf. He's not Freddy. He's not Jason. He can't live on to the, into the ether forever and ever and ever. The original intent of the character, which we're supposed to believe this is what we're getting here. That's the impression that I'm getting, which is why I keep harking back to it. We're told that this is going back to that. So, okay, if we're going back to that, then he has a shelf life. You can do 2 more if you want to, but don't tell me you're going back to that and then go off and do 8 more because it doesn't make any sense.
One of the scariest things I had to, I always thought about, I didn't know, what they were going to do. Obviously, I was hoping they were going to bring back Michael Myers as the original, badass that we all thought he was in the first one. But what I was scared of, moving forward, and you're talking about shelf life and stuff, and I agree with that, is that you remember Jason 5, and they brought in the fake Jason, Yeah, and then I didn't want these fuckers to start doing that too. Somebody just got inspired. Michael Myers dies, the actual Michael Myers.
It was the seed of a pumpkin.
Yeah, and then somebody got seeded. And then, a makeshift Michael Myers takes over, and then it just becomes Michael Myers the title, but it's not really Michael Myers. If you were going to try to be a studio asshole and you want to just kind of expand it and not really explain the supernatural elements, you could do that, and you could just make, he's just an obsessed fan, kind of scream it up a bit.
Yeah,
that was
that's a big no.
Michael Myers gets killed by Jamie in this one, but in the next movie, she's not quite sure, so she goes to his grave and sticks a post into him and lightning hits. There you go.
There it is.
There it is. There it is. He drowned. He's drowned in Haddonfield Pond.
And Horseshack is with her.
He comes back. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
You know, I think I'm for like them doing like an expanded universe as far as like Season of the Witch type material. But what really kills them is using that name Halloween with it. I think they have to establish that, hey, we want to venture out, but you're Michael Myers. He's still okay. We're fine with making another one of those movies too, guys. So can we do this? I think if they get that permission from the audience, then I think that's what shot them in the foot the first time around. They said, okay, we're done with that. We've tied it up. Now let's do Season of the Witch. And everybody was like, oh, no, fuck that. I love Michael Myers that much. I want him back. I think if they do that, I think if they say, hey, you can have Michael Myers, but we're still going to try other things, I think I would be totally for it. I mean, I love Season of the Witch, and I think there's some really fucked up stories out there that they could tell, and give it that Carpenter-ish vibe. Maybe put kind of like a connecting thread through them to let you know that, hey, this is our little Halloween expanded universe. It's not just some other Truth or Dare type movie. That excites me. I don't know. I mean, Mike and Jay, what do you guys think about that?
Dude, I think I'll go halfway with Dave on the anthology idea. Like, I've always hated the idea of doing that. You're right. It would have worked way better with 3 if they'd have been honest about it up front. Like, hey, Michael Myers is not fucking. When you show the trailer, like, Michael Myers will not be in this fucking movie. And then show the trailer. You know, just be blunt and honest. Because everybody thought, nah, he's gonna show up. Just wait. He's gonna fucking be there. But I think if they do an anthology, I think that at some point, somehow, Michael has to show back up. Like, maybe not for a couple movies. Maybe you do branch out. But if you don't, then it's just any other horror movie. I mean, you could throw Easter eggs to Halloween, you know, or to Haddonfield. You could do stuff like that. But I mean, what else is there other than Michael? If Laurie's not, if the Strodes aren't a thing, which they're not now, you know, they're not tied together by the bloodline, and then Michael's going to go away, then it's any other anthology, you know. So I don't want that. Something interesting I was thinking is, and I think that they mentioned this when they were talking about disregarding all the sequels. They're like, well, everybody kind of has their own version, their own vision of Myers, and I mentioned James Bond earlier, joking around. I don't know how you could make that sort of thing work. It just doesn't work. But almost one-offs, one-shots in a certain way, like not a continuity, you know, not the Marvel Universe version, not branching out, but just like different versions of what people would have imagined Halloween after the first movie took off at, like different directors, filmmakers' ideas of what Michael Myers could have been. If you can figure out a way to translate that to the audience to where they understand, and the average person who's not obsessed with the lore can get behind, then it could be successful. But that's a hard thing to do.
I just had an idea after you said that. Instead of calling it Halloween, maybe just call it Haddonfield. And then you could have all these stories that happen within Haddonfield or something like that.
Do the Star Wars thing. One year have the Michael movie, the next year have the anthology movie, and just trade off.
Yeah. Like, you can put it on like fucking like Netflix. Like, it'd be the new Erie, Indiana, or Goosebumps.
It's not a bad idea, and it could work. The trick is to understand what the Halloween universe is and its simplicity. It's not sensational in terms of its, you know, special effects. If you tell great stories, and that's where it begins, creepy, eerie, fucked up, scary fucking stories. You execute these films in a way that these movies are creepy. They're eerie. You don't call them Halloween such and such. You call it something else. You call it the name of the movie, you know, whatever it is. And then maybe underneath you have, I don't know if you want to go quite, you know, Star Wars with a Halloween, you know, story, or like, you know, whatever the case is, or, you know, but, you know, it's very apparent that it's taking place in the universe, but there's a lot of potential there. And Mike's right in the sense that it can work. But the only reason why I say that is because people want more Halloween movies, but you have to understand that, okay, if you want Michael films, you're more than entitled to that. Keep going to the theater, no matter how shitty they become, and they will continue to make them.
They will.
Okay? So, I mean, if you want Michael Myers to live on forever, then just go see the fucking movie 8 times. And when you look at the, part 8 that's doing really shitty at the box office, grab your grandma and your friends and your uncle and take them to the movie so you can, pump up, the box office. I mean, that's how it's going to go. But I just don't see Michael Myers lasting. I think if you want to do Myers anthology, eventually Myers is going to sort of stop. And I think if there's a future Halloween, I think it lies in the. I understand the skepticism, but if it's done right, if it's done really well, I think there's a big potential there for some. Almost you forget that you're watching a story that takes place in a town in the same state as Haddonfield.
Yeah.
You're watching just a great, and exactly like I said, there could be a scene where somebody's on the road and you see a sign that says Haddonfield, 30 miles, or, whatever the case is. So you're in the universe, but you're having a different story. While the shit with Michael's going on over here, there's some other fucked up thing happening over here.
Yeah, that's still
that you
happening.
don't even fucking believe. That's still happening.
Yeah.
There's a world going on.
That's awesome.
Right? So I think that there's the potentiality of that to be quite successful. I get that Michael is the brand. I get that. But I think... Again, I just go back to, I just get worried. I care too much about Michael and the character to let, now we have Blumhouse, and it's like, okay, guys, don't fuck this up. Like, you got this, this looks pretty good, a lot of potential here. In 2022, are we all going to be sitting here going,
Yeah.
Told you so.
We were so close.
That's just what I'm worried about. I'm just worried about that with Michael. And it's just kind of like, oh, you had it, you push it, you had too many pieces of fucking cake. You know what I mean? It's like, you should have stopped at 3 pieces, you had 4, and now you're throwing up, and it's just, I just get a little worried about that.
He can't do what a Freddy character can do, which is Freddy can be funny and he can change and he can do things. Michael Myers is a dude in a mask who doesn't fucking talk. You change him, you do crazy shit with him, then he's not Michael Myers anymore. So
that's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. Somebody made a comment on one of my videos that said something to the effect of when I gave my trailer reaction or lack thereof, because I realized I was like this the whole time. I was soaking it in.
You really were. I watched that.
I was soaking it in. I cared a lot about what I was saying. I was like, okay, show me what you fucking got.
Yeah.
Okay? I'll be the judge of whether this is fucking good. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, this guy made a comment, and he was referring to something I said about how I didn't like how in one of the criticisms I had about the trailer, and to be fair, I'm seeing 2.5 minutes. Okay, I mean, there could be lots of shit that there is lots of shit that I haven't seen. But one of the things was I was surprised at how clearly we saw him. Okay, that was one of the things. And he was like, well, of course, you're going to see him, clearly we already know what he looks like. We already know is this. And I commented back to the guy, which I very rarely do because I get so many comments. Yeah. But I commented back and I said, I didn't mean that, they're exposing him because we don't know what he looks like, and they don't want to show us. I said, I'm talking about being true to the original intent of the character. The character is always in shadow, in darkness, there, not there, behind the bushes, behind here. And that's sort of true to, as Mike would say, the character of what Michael is. So for Michael to be out in the open and not coming out of the darkness, not emerging from the darkness, not at any points. And I'm not saying we're not going to have any of that in the new film. Yeah. We probably will. But I didn't see much of that in the trailer. So, to not see that, I was kind of like, I was kind of looking for that, some low-key lighting. I posted a couple of photos on Twitter today where there's still images from one of my recent videos that I uploaded. And I said, I want to see this kind of look, where it's low-key blue lighting. I want to see some of that because that's the low-key in the shadow, half the mask coming in. That's a character in and of itself. Which is why I thought it would have been cool if the closet light had been off at the end of the trailer. I agree. And she opens the door and she's like, what the hell is, and we just kind of see his mask emerge from the darkness. That's being true to the sort of character. It works as is. There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it at all. But it's that sort of thing that, as Mike was saying, you don't want to get too far away from the character of who he is. You don't want to have him start running you know, I know he's going to be 90 and he's going to have to start, you know, to pick up, you know, you don't want to have to, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's a good point.
I think you can make make Michael scary in the daytime, but you got to be careful about it. Like if you look at the original Halloween, there are scenes where Michael Myers is walking around in the daytime. The scene where Laurie's coming to her window and then Michael's just standing right there. That's a chilling scene. And it's
he is. You're absolutely correct, but it's always from a distance.
Yes.
And that's because they don't want to have the shape, because, you know, if he's far away at the bush or in Mr. Riddle's backyard or at the car watching Laurie through the window, at a distance there's that disconnect, right? We don't have that emotional connection to him. The only time we get the emotional connection to him is in the darkness.
Yep.
And so we don't have that connection to him yet. We see him, we're like, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? It's during the day, but we don't really see him clearly until he picks up that phone and puts it to his ear. It's like, oh shit, you know, because now we're in his space, right? When we see him by the bush, when we see him by the car, when we see him in the backyard, he's in our space during the day. When we see him close up, that's because we've gone into his space.
Right.
You know, so I think it's you know, it's very important.
I agree with that 100%. I actually just watched a documentary. I don't know if I'm sure you guys have watched it, Cut Above the Rest. I think you can find it on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And John Carpenter mentions the fact that he was going for that suspense horror and not the grotesque and the gruesome and the gory. And the fact that that's what he wanted. And, you know, and even Nick Castle asking, you know, he said, I made the mistake asking, what's my motivation? And he's like, just walk. It's like, there is no motivation. Just fucking walk. Yeah. And, you know, there's one specific scene that always stands out to me in that movie overall. One of my favorite scenes. And what you said just reminded me of it. When Laurie discovers the bodies of her friends and she's upstairs and she backs into a corner. Yes. And then the way they use the dimmer light just to kind of slowly crank it up, and you see Myers' face just a moment come out of the shadows.
Brilliant.
That was amazing. And you know, it's like what you don't see is more, you know, scarier than what you do see. And that's what they wanted to go. You're like, you know, there's a creature in there. You know, something's going to go down. You just want to know when the fuck it's going to happen. And do we need to go to the bathroom first?
Right. And when you think about the ending of the trailer too, and again, there's nothing wrong with the scene. David Gordon Green made a conscious, creative choice to do it this way. And that's fine. It works. It works, right? There's nothing wrong with it. But you could have played it another way as well. You could have had the, you know, closet door open and the kid says, can you close the door? Because I don't want the door open to crack with, you know, being dark inside. Right. So she goes to close the door. It plays out the same way. She can't, you know, what the hell? And she opens the door to see what's blocking it. You could have her turn on the light.
Yeah.
And
there
boom,
you go.
There he is.
There you go.
Or you could have her kind of going like this. It's dark, but it's dimly lit. So it's not dark enough that she can't really see. So she's kind of like, and what the hell is that? And you kind of see his face. It's just creative choices that are true to the character that I was looking for. Little sort of tiny nuances that I saw potential of in the trailer. But unless they're going to show another one, which they don't really need to, because it's not a big enough film to really show 2 or 3 trailers, because you'll show the whole movie, the whole film. But I'm hoping that when we get to see the movie, I see things like that, because I want to be that kid that going, because it's true to the character, right? Yeah, no, it's a great point, Jay.
Let's talk about box office predictions for a minute. Cody, because I know you've talked about box office with this film in the past. I saw a recent stream that Cody was on with the horror show, and they were talking about what do you think this movie's going to make first weekend, and
got heated.
It got heated. Like Cecil was thinking that this movie's gonna make 60 million overall tops. I might be misquoting him. He didn't think it was gonna make that much. When I disagree, but I'm curious to see what you guys think about that. Cody, what do you think this movie's gonna do?
I think total domestic, I think I said like 175, 180 or something like that on the stream. I think it's going to make money. I mean, it's going to be I said it's going to be the it of this year. It might not make as much as it because it was kind of a phenomenon, but this movie's going to make crazy money. It's going to surprise people. So yes, it's true that we're deep in the horror community, so maybe it sounds like it's more hyped up than it actually is outside of the horror community, but Michael Myers is a brand name. Like, this is the type of movie that brings in the casual and the not so casual horror fans. Like, oh shit, there's another Halloween movie. Let's go check it out. Plus, they're releasing it in October, which was when everybody has, horror movie fever. That's why one of the genius things that Blumhouse always does. They always release something in October.
First time since Halloween 5, by the way, that we get a Halloween movie in October.
Yeah. So, I mean, plus you get, Jamie Lee's coming back. There's so many things that's working in this movie's favor, financially that, it's going to make a lot of money. Plus, like I said before, I hope that it makes a lot of money because then we're going to get a Freddy and a Jason eventually and more Halloween. If this movie comes out and it doesn't even make what, Happy Death Day made, then we're in trouble. So yeah, I would say total domestic, maybe 175, 180. It might even make more than that, surprise me. But yeah, it's going to make a shitload of money its first weekend, especially.
First weekend, Jay, what are you thinking first weekend this is going to make?
Well, I'm thinking that Avatar is going to have to take number 2.
That would be awesome.
That would be amazing. I'm on board with Cody. I'd say about around like 170, 175, maybe 180 million. I think that's a good number. That's good. I mean, that's a good solid number to have. And like Cody said, it's the possibility of opening up the doorway for the other horror icons to come through now with the remakes or whatever sequels, Freddy, Jason, Pinhead, whatever. Like, I know that Pinhead had his own treatment, but an actual theatrical thing. Yeah. That's what I'm most looking forward to. And also, like Cody said, I'm going to agree that it's a staple of horror movies. Like how Michael Myers himself, even if a casual fan just has kind of heard about Michael Myers, the mask is iconic. The name Halloween itself and being released in October is great marketing. And, you're going to take a girl or a guy, whatever, like, hey, let's go see this movie. It looks fucking scary. Okay. And then pump the ticket out, the more money. And yeah, so I think that's a fair number. Yeah, for sure. And Jamie Lee is going to provide the star power behind it. And Blumhouse is going to market it as much as they can. So yeah, I think it's going to make it around that mark.
Well, CP did say that the highest grossing Halloween movie of the franchise was Rob Zombie's Halloween at $58 million. Mm-hmm. Even with that number, I still think, because all these ducks are in a row, I think this is going to pull well above 100. Mike, I mean, would you agree with that? Do you think that this can really be the highest grossing Halloween movie to date?
Yeah, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately because something's probably wrong with me. But I had nothing to do. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I don't know if you ever noticed when these horror movies come out, like back in the golden age of the Friday the 13th and the other Halloween movies and stuff like that, when a good one would come out, you would get this surge for the second one. But when one sucked, not the second one necessarily, but when the next one sucked, it would make a lot at the box office. But then a good one would come out right after that and not make shit because it's always based off the previous movie. So I think in this case, that doesn't matter. I think this is going to be huge. But I'm just thinking about the other reboots they've tried to do. The Nightmare on Elm Street reboot sucked shit, did great at the box office. But I think studios have become wise to what I just said. So maybe that's why we didn't get another movie after the reboot, is because everybody thought it sucked, but it made but the and then the Friday the 13th reboot, it they never made a sequel to that, which maybe that's rights or whatever. But yeah, I think it's going to do great. And you also have to look at what's coming out around it. Venom is its only real competition, and that comes out 2 weeks before it. Yep. And you said this is October. This is a horror movie. I think it's going to do fucking fantastically. Yeah. I think it's going to be great, and for sure, I think at least money wise, they're going to be intrigued to do a sequel.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think business wise, marketing wise, they couldn't have placed it at a better release point, because they have 2 good weekends in October before Halloween. So that's 2 good opportunities to bank quite a bit. As far as the business goes, Dave, talk to me a little bit about how important an opening weekend is, as far as like what's a good strategy, in anything. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with what they've said. I mean, the movie's going to do very well opening weekend, for sure. And I think Universal is going to put a big marketing push into it the closer we get to October. To release the movie in October is smart. The last several Halloween films have not been released in October. Zombies original was the summer. Halloween 2, Halloween 2. Yes, his Halloween 2 was the summer. Resurrection was the summer, I believe, and H2O was the summer.
Yeah.
So the last Halloween movie to be released in the fall, and it wasn't even really the fall. I mean, it was really, but I think it was late September. Was Halloween 6? Excuse me, and so yeah, that's smart. That's definitely going to help. And because it's got a name like Halloween, you're gonna get people wanting to go see a Halloween horror movie. You're gonna get people that don't give a fuck about the franchise going to see it purely because of the name, because it's a horror movie around Halloween time, and people get that. I want to go see something scary. Let's go see something scary. And then you got like this movie it's called Halloween. Let's go, guy. And they have no idea what the fuck it's about necessarily, but they go and they watch it and they got their money. I think a realistic opening weekend, the budget's $10 million, I believe, is what it came out as. I think a realistic opening weekend, and I'm going to be a little conservative here, but I think it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think if they're anywhere between 35 and 45 opening weekend, I think would be a huge success.
Yeah.
I think if they crack 100 by the end of their domestic run, I think that's a huge success. Now I know we always want to want to be, no, this thing's going to be fucking huge. And it could be, it could be. But I think if they crack 40 million opening weekend, that would be huge for October for a Halloween film. And by the end of the domestic run, over 100. I mean, you think Zombies film from 2007 grossed 58 million. If this movie cracks 100 million domestic, that's doubling essentially what the last. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So I mean, it all comes down to repeat watch. Okay, so even if you were to gross 60 million opening weekend, what is the drop off going to be the next one? And are people going to go back and see it again and again and again? I'm not so sure. I think I want to say if this makes 100 to 110 domestically, I think that's pretty damn good. 175, it could, but you got to say then what's your opening weekend at? Because if you think if this thing's going to crack 175 domestic at the end of its run, well then what's its opening weekend going to be? Is its opening weekend going to be 80?
Yeah, that's
because
what I'm saying. 75 million, 80 million. That's my prediction.
Yeah, because that's a huge. What was it opening?
I don't know, but
130 or something like that.
A Quiet Place was like 130. So I think to your point about weekend to weekend, I think it's going to really depend on the word of mouth with this movie. Like if everyone's fucking loving it, then you're going to see small drop-offs. You're going to see repeat viewings. You're going to see people going out, oh shit, the new one's good. But if the movie's mediocre to, I don't know about this one, then then we're wrong.
No, you're right, and also too, as psychological as it is, October 19th. Once you start getting into the middle of November, you move up to your Thanksgiving. The Canadian one is at the beginning of October, but you start moving into sort of that holiday Christmassy season. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So whether or not it's got the legs to kind of push it in there, I don't think 175 is out of the realm of possibility. I'll be honest with you, that would surprise me if it grossed that at the end of its domestic run. But it would be like, oh wow, that's a huge success. If this thing grosses 130 opening weekend, that will shock me. Not because I'm trying to put Halloween down. I'm just looking at statistically where the Halloween films open. It was a different beast altogether. People have been waiting for an It movie for 31 years. Yeah. And the mini series we got in 1990 or 89 or whatever it was all right for its time. Yeah, I mean, it was all right for its time. But people have been waiting. This is like, wow, so we're getting an It movie. It's got the kid from, Stranger Things. It's got this kid in there too. And there was a lot of sort of push, but people have been waiting to see an on-screen Pennywise for 30 years. And Halloween, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Personally, I think if it's 40 million opening, that's really good. For a Halloween movie, that's really good. But it could be more. In terms of what they need to do for marketing, well, yeah, they need to sort of, like Cody said, I mean, it all comes down to if this is going to be a good movie. How confident are they in this film? And you'll see a push come September, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of push they have at Comic-Con as well. Yeah. How much money they want to put into the marketing.
Yeah, you got to think about how much hunger there is out there for the classic slashers too, because for all intents and purposes, we haven't seen them since 2009.
100%.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And like I said, so it could go either way. I think right now it's a little early to tell which way it's definitely going to go. I think what Cody said is not out of the realm of possibility, or even what Mike and Jay are saying. And I think even saying 35. But even if it only makes 35-40, that's not a disappointment. You got to remember this budget's $1 million.
Well,
you make $40 million opening weekend for a Halloween movie. That some people don't even know what. I mean, I watch a lot of the trailer, reactions. People know there's a Halloween film, but how many reactions have you guys watched? People are like, I thought she died.
Oh yeah, I've gotten a lot of comments like that too.
I thought she died.
Well,
right. So
what?
Sorry, I was just going to say that. So there's people that are not really familiar with what this is. They think it's a sequel to H2O or to Resurrection. So I think it's too early to tell, but it's interesting.
What I'm worried about, because you're right. For a movie that costs, what did you say? It was like $15 million to make this movie, something like that.
$10 million.
Yeah. $10 million. Yeah, and that's Blumhouse's genius with their business model is make them cheap, and you're gonna quadruple your budget in the first weekend at least. But even if it makes $40 million domestic, it's still going to be profitable. But my worry is that we're in this trend in horror right now where we're kind of going into smarter horror movies. Like you get the Get Out that goes to the Oscars. You get The Quiet Place. You get Hereditary. And my worry is, even though it would be profitable, I think that they're really banking on this movie making a shitload of money like those movies have been making. Maybe not Hereditary, but if Halloween comes out and it's just like a $40-50 million movie, okay, well, we made our money back, but they're not going to put as much energy into making more slashers. Then okay, well, we'll just continue with The Quiet Place too. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's a great point, Cody, because it depends. No, it is. It's a great point because you have to think about the era of horror we're in as well, and we're moving towards that psychological sort of horror realm with A Quiet Place, Get Out. Even It Follows was very psychological. Yeah, so we're sort of moving to smarter, more cerebral, intellectual horror, which is nothing wrong with that. Every horror has to say the slasher will come back eventually. The question is this its time?
Yes, exactly.
And so if Halloween only makes, I say only, but if it makes, I mean, look, I just brought it up here. Rob Zombie's opening weekend for Halloween 2007 was $26 million. Yeah. So we can it's probably safe to say that we're probably, it's 40 mil maybe, I think is at your lowest point. I think we can probably expect with the hype around this and, not having one in, almost 10 years, 40 would be your low point. But as you just said, I mean, it all depends on where people feel. Are they wanting to see this? Do they want to see this? Is Halloween the right vehicle and vessel to get the slasher sort of genre or sub genre of the horror genre back on track? It could be. I don't know. It's but you're absolutely right. I don't know if it's going to make A Quiet Place or Get Out money, though. That's. I mean, at the end of its run, that's heavy duty.
For me, it all depends on if is the movie going to be scary or not, which is the hardest fucking thing to do with Michael Myers, because I always talk about the Nabisco syndrome with Darth Vader. The dude used to be the scariest thing ever when he would appear on screen in the 70s, but he's on Cheez-Its. He's literally on Cheez-Its for kids.
That's right. That's right.
Michael's not to that level, but everyone's seen his face. The original movie was so scary because when that face was illuminated out of the darkness, it was like, what the fuck is that? Everybody's seen his face. It's a trademark. It's a thing now. So it's hard to take something like that and make it so scary. If they can take that and make it scary, then you're talking word of mouth. You're talking a whole different bag of money, but it's hard to do.
That's a great point.
Well, here's a pretty good base for comparison. So I pulled up the box office for Jigsaw from last year, and total domestic, it made just short of $40 million. And that's a movie that we just got a shitload of them just a couple of years ago. Word of mouth wasn't very good. So I think that, I think you could extrapolate that pretty hard for this movie.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Mike makes a great point. That's why when I was watching the trailer, I was so stoic because I'm sitting there and I'm looking for, okay, is this what am I? If they had not shown Michael Myers as clearly as they did, and really sort of made a different sort of trailer.
Yeah.
Maybe with a different vibe, like really scary, like fucking scary. Now, Jamie Lee is saying this is hella scary. Well, she's got to say that. She's under contract. Legally, she has to sell the film. I'm not saying that you just truly believe that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not going to be. Yeah, and I'm not saying it's not going to be scary, but she's contractually obligated to talk highly of it regardless. I mean, she also said H2O was amazing at the time. So, I just, we can talk about this for hours, but it's that, I mean, you're right, guys. It's that opening weekend's going to do well. Opening weekend's going to do very well, because it's a very highly anticipated film. The question is, what is the next weekend going to do? What's the word of mouth? You guys got to go fucking see this. It's scary. I mean, legitimately scary.
Yeah.
Or, it was good, but it was, typical.
That's how Scream got so big. I remember being in school and being like, no, it's actually fucking scary. Like, go see it. And that in a way was one of the things that brought slashers back for that time.
Right.
Yeah.
A different kind of slasher. You had the young adult fucking, slasher, but still, if this does that to kids in high school on fucking Snapchat, then
you're right. And I've always believed that how you make a movie scary, which is one of the questions I get asked a lot. And it's not to say that you do this all the time. It's very sort of project specific. But what truly frightens us is the psychological component. It's what gets inside your head. We all experience fear the same way. And if you build on that slow burn and you make us work for it in our own minds, we're all going to go to a dark place. Now, I might go to a different dark place than Cody and Jay and Mike, but we're all going to go to a dark place. And the problem they run into is that if you show your main antagonist or the shark or the spirit or the killer, whatever it is, too soon or out in the open or even in the marketing all over the place, we know what to expect. Now, we know what to expect per se anyway, but when you sort of dangle that carrot and you build that up, well, fuck, that can be so... And when it's done right...
Yeah.
And it can be good. It can be something really special.
I think they're flexing with the trailer, though. I think they're trying to say, hey, this movie is going to be scary, that we're not fucking around. We have our main guy dropping teeth in a bathroom stall. I think they're doing shit like that because they want to let the audience know that we're not messing around this time. This is going to be your scary. I mean, Danny McBride's even said that. We want to go back and make Halloween scary again. We want this to be like one of the scariest Halloweens out there. I was getting strong Halloween 6 vibes from it just by the mannerisms of Michael, how brutal he is. I mean, when you're dropping teeth in a bathroom stall, I'd never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
No, it was great, but this is how you improve on that. And again, it's all creative choices.
Yeah.
But this is what I would have loved to have seen of that. He reaches over, drops the teeth. She looks down. She looks up like this with a build of music, right? Like that. But we don't see what he does to her.
Yeah.
And that's like, oh, fuck. What the hell is going to happen? But I already know that he's smashing the guy's head against the door. Yeah. And he's dragging her underneath the stall. Scary shit, but leave that for me to experience in the theater.
Yeah.
And I want to see him, because the teeth is what sells that scene, not him grabbing her. We know the probability is high that he's going to grab her, that she's going to meet her death, right? We know that's going to happen. But when he drops the teeth, it's that, and she looks up and maybe you see like a shadow, come over, something to that effect. I like that kind of shit. It's all, not everybody does, some people want to see more of it, and I get it, I respect it, I understand it. But for me, that would have been scarier. That moment, just seeing the teeth, and she looks down, and we see the teeth, and we're just like, oh shit. And you don't have to show us anything else. Yeah. We know all hell's going to break loose. We know it. You don't have to necessarily show us until we get into the theater, because now we're waiting for that moment. Now, we already know sort of a bit of how that scene plays out. We kind of know how that, we sort of know what's going to... Now, we don't know all of it, but we kind of know what to expect. Right? Whereas if we didn't know what to expect, it might be kind of like, shit, I'm waiting for this scene with the fucking teeth. Like what's going to happen? Right? Because that's fucking amazing. Because that's, your...
that's the money shot.
But yeah, exactly. But I get it. They want to sell it for a modern audience as well.
Maybe what we didn't see, and the reason why he got so angry was after he drops the teeth, right? Hear me out. Listen. After he drops the teeth, she slides a toothbrush.
Yes, because if you look
gingivitis is the number one cause of tooth decay.
Gingivitis, motherfucker.
Yes,
I do. In all seriousness, I still do have the question of, where the fuck did you get those teeth, man? Like, how did you get all those teeth in your hands at one time?
I think.
Well, what I understand, I got asked that, and this is my assumption on it. I don't think Michael has actually taken the teeth out of the guy. I think the teeth are the teeth from the British reporter. That's what I'm assuming. Maybe from the mechanic that he got the jumpsuit on. But what I'm thinking is that maybe it's from the reporter, and maybe he got the teeth from smashing his head against the door, and his teeth fell out. But it all depends on how it's edited. Like, what comes first? The smashing on the door, the hello, I'm in here, or like because you can cut, in different ways to serve a trailer, and it plays out very differently in the film. So I'm led to believe that it's the reporter's teeth.
If he's got insurance, just think how straight his teeth are going to be the next set, though.
I thought I did see a toothbrush, though. I think there was one on the ground there.
That's a bonus scene.
Yes.
What's cool about that scene too? What's cool about that scene too? What I like is that it's kind of like a return of like the childlike curiosity and the childlike I'm gonna fuck with my victims a little bit version of Michael. He's like, all right, this bitch is already scared, but I'm gonna go ahead and just toss his teeth over here just to see if it'll scare a little bit more. Like, when he's in this fucking ghost sheets in the corner of the room and stuff. Like, it's getting back to that. It's getting back to that like evil entered him when he was a child, and it's almost like he never quite matured. He's still kind of like he still kind of has that childlike curiosity, that childlike, I wonder what'll happen if I stab him here. I wonder what'll happen if I drag her underneath and stab her out here.
Yes. Did you not mention that in your review, Cody, or your reaction? I thought you mentioned that exact thing in your reaction.
I don't think I did. I think that was something I kind of missed. I think.
Oh, because I could have sworn I heard you in your reaction mention that. Because I agree with you 100%. It's a nice sort of. It's something that his character would probably do. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's an excellent point.
A predator playing with his prey kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
What we don't realize is that this whole thing is actually a Saw movie, and for years you've not taken care of your teeth properly, and this is
I want to play a game.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden, Listerine commercial pops up.
That's right. It's an hour-and-a-half ad for Colgate.
Colgate. There you go. Yeah.
All right, we're going to jump into the franchise. We talked for the trailer for quite a while, which was fun. But thank you, Italian Badass, for that. A lot of people have been giving donations along the way. I didn't do that for that, but do this for that. But I really appreciate all the support. I can't believe that we're almost like 500 views. It's insane. And it's not me. It's just because I have, all you guys. But anyway... let's move into the franchise. I figured to maybe a fun little thing to do would start off. I posted on Killer Flicks, ask a question or post a topic that you would like us to discuss. And what I did was I went through that list. I picked out like 5 or 6 maybe different things. I don't know if you guys looked at them or not, but I figured I'd do the homework for us. And I'll ask like one of you guys a question and then maybe move on to the next guy for the next question. Unless you have a viewpoint that is like just completely different, you need to get it out, then you can of course hop on. But we'll start with the first question here. It's from Michael Kerr. This is a good one. Favorite Loomis moment. I got to give this question to Jay because Jay is Loomis for the we watched the movie, guys, and I figured your answer would probably be the most interesting.
Man, it's got to be my like. There's so many good Loomis moments, but it's got to be the very first movie when Donald Pleasance is describing what Michael is when he met Michael Myers. He met this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. That's got to be my favorite Loomis moment. And actually, just having recently watched that John Carpenter documentary, Cut Above the Rest. I don't know if you knew this or not. They visited. He was in a psychology class, and John Carpenter went on a field trip, I guess, to a psychiatric unit in Western Kentucky, and there was a 12 or 13-year-old boy.
Yeah.
That was one of the inmates there, or one of the patients there, I suppose. And he said that the lines that inspired him after he saw this boy was the same lines that he gave Loomis, just to describe this force in the best way that Donald Pleasance. I mean, it was amazing. Like that set the whole tone. And Loomis is such a great fucking hype man. Any rapper should have got his ass. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah.
He's such a great hype man. So that's got to be my favorite Loomis moment. Other than he was doing very well last night.
It was doing very well last night.
Yeah, it had to be one of those guys.
I'll even say I think Loomis is one of the big reasons why the Halloween franchise is so popular. Without Loomis, I think it'd be just another slasher. There's just something to Loomis. He's more crazy than Michael himself. There's just a madness to him. But he's so interesting because there's like almost this love-hate relationship he has with Myers. He feels like he, let him down in a way, I guess, maybe. He spent 8 years trying to reach him and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because he realized what was behind his eyes was purely and simply evil. That line gives me chills every single time I hear it, every single time I say it. It's because of the way Loomis says that line. So I love Loomis.
His motivations are in the dark almost. Not totally, but as Michael should be kept in the dark as whether or not he's mortal, what his actual powers are, his motives, all that stuff. I think Loomis's are too. Like he gets so fucking weird at times, and you're not really sure why. He's mysterious as well, and he always will be because they'll never entirely explain him because unfortunately Pleasance is gone, and you're never going to recreate that.
A Loomis origin story.
There you go.
That was another question that I had, but I didn't really jump into was, we don't have Loomis, and would you guys want a Loomis type character? I know Jamie Lee Curtis has stated that she's going to be like the Loomis, but I don't know if it's a conversation that we want to really dive into. I'll ask it to Dave. Dave, would you want a Loomis type character in a future movie?
You have to have one.
Yeah.
You have to have somebody that takes on that role. Not necessarily becoming Dr. Loomis. They don't have to be a doctor. They don't have to be a psychiatrist. Yeah. But there's always got to be some sort of main protagonist that knows something about Michael, knows a lot about him, that has experience with him, that is the driving sort of leader of the protagonist. Because if you don't, then you just have a bunch of random people that are just killed, and there's not that one person that sort of survives that knows everything there is to know about Michael. So I mean, when people said and in my predictions video, I think back in February I said this, and I think some people misunderstood what I meant when I said that Laurie is probably going to be the Loomis character. It's like, oh, she's going to be no, I don't mean she's going to be a psychiatrist and she's going to be she takes on that role where she has that experience with him. So I think you'll always get a Loomis type of character, but I don't think you'll get a Dr. Loomis sort of character again. My favorite I just wanted to say this, capitalizing on what Jay said about Loomis, it's a great line. And I think I love that line too. But I go a step further, and I like when the sheriff, I think it's when he scares him, and Loomis at the Myers house. And Loomis is like, I watched him for 15 years, sitting in a room, staring at a wall, not seeing the wall, looking past the wall, looking at this night, inhumanly patient, death has come to your little town, Sheriff. You can choose to ignore it, and you can help me to stop it. It's just that extra push that the lines that Jay was talking about. It's that extra, right? Like he's there in the house, and he's like, I met this 6-year-old child, this blank, pale, emotionless face, the blackest eyes, the devil's eye. And he's like, what, that fucking didn't do it for you? Like, did you not hear what I fucking said? I said, I watched this kid, this pale, blank, and behind the boy's eyes, that you're evil. So he's got to go that one step further and go, I watched him sitting in a room, staring at the wall, not seeing the wall, looking past the wall, not seeing the wall, looking past the wall. Like, you know what I mean?
It's like,
It's got that, dude, listen, I watched him sitting in a room, like, take out the accent and take it to like modern day talk, right? Dude, I watched him sitting in a fucking room, staring at the wall, not seeing the wall, looking past the wall. That's the moment, right? It's like looking past the wall, waiting for this night, inhumanly patient. And that's the one that does it. That's the moment, inhumanly patient. which is why I just want to capitalize on this too. Going back to the beginning of the trailer, when you see that opening shot of the checkerboard or the chessboard, right? It's a great symbolism there where we have Michael is a chess piece on a chessboard, right? And you got to be extremely patient. I said to my viewers, I said, what's that thing you got to have when you play chess? It begins with a P. And everybody's like, pawns! You got to have pawns! I'm like, yes, but I meant patience. Anyway, the symbolism around that is fantastic, and that's a side note. But yeah, inhumanly patient, and that's what it comes down to. It's this guy. He's like that. Like how I interpret the evil, not like literally, supernatural, but it's like how we think of Dahmer or, John Wayne Gacy or Manson. There's this, when you watch Manson, of course he's human. He just died, 6 months ago. But when you watch him, there's almost like that eerie supernatural quality about the guy. Do you know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. And we sometimes have that feeling about these serial killers, especially notorious ones that lack, empathy, sympathy, and that's sort of what that's what he meant, that's what Loomis meant, at least how I saw it, how Carpenter wrote it was, simply and purely evil. He doesn't literally mean that he's possessed by the devil, literally, like there's a spirit that came in, but it's just he's cold, man. He lacks empathy. There's something missing up here. He's scary fucking shit, and he's trying to convey that to the sheriff. So my favorite is that one is exactly what Jay said, but you got to have that extra push where it's like, I do fucking it's great.
I'll say just a little bit. Again, Loomis being so great, Donald Pleasance. I'm going to move on really quick. I don't want to take all the time.
No, you're fine.
The fact that it always reminded me of Moby Dick. It's kind of like, my name is Ismail, and I hunt Michael Myers. and Michael Myers is this fucking Moby Dick. He's obsessed to the point of almost insanity. And he's going to do whatever it takes to bring him down. Like, that's it. Like, it's insane the amount of the impulse that he has, and he won't stop. He's almost as obsessed with taking down Myers and getting people to fucking understand what kind of creature that it's in Myers as, Myers is obsessed with killing his own bloodline. It's right. It's such a cool dynamic between the two.
Right, because think about it. He's been a psychiatrist or, a psychologist, or I guess he's a psychiatrist, whatever he is there. He's, we're led to believe, okay, he's probably been in this business for 20 something years at least, right? Yep. And he's never seen anything like this. Like I've watched him sitting in a room. He's dealt with tons of children. I've never seen this. Do you not understand? So that push. It's just like, you got to understand what we're dealing with here, which is exactly what he says. I believe the words understand. Well, I think it's at the beginning of the movie in the car, right? Yeah. When he's like, try to understand what we're dealing with here. Don't you think we can refer to it as him? If you and the way he's like,
if you say so.
He says it so badass. It's like. Well, if you want.
I just wish I would pay hundreds of dollars of my own money to just be that guy in that scene and just be like, wait, can you clarify? Did he eat or shit? Because he just sat and he fucking stared at the wall. He's definitely not fucking human. And
he stared at the toilet.
Like,
See, and this is how people take things so literally. I had somebody say that to me too. They're like, "Well, obviously they went to the bathroom," and I'm like,
"That would be a great outtake." Like, wait, hold on, no, I'm back to staring.
I put a pea potting pan under his desk.
Yeah. But the reason Michael is so mysterious, so interesting, is because Loomis told you he's mysterious, and Loomis sells it. Without Loomis, Michael's not mysterious.
Yes. Yeah.
He's not as mysterious.
That's right. His performance needs to be convincing.
Yeah, exactly. I'll jump over to the next question now. This is from Wolfman's Got Nards, who already went to bed. He's over in the UK, though. Or he's in Scotland, I think. So I'll ask this one to Cody. Because if Rob Zombie's movies weren't so badly received overall, do you think we would still be getting the Halloween we're getting this October, or continue with the zombie timeline?
It's hard to say because I think I don't know how much creative control Rob Zombie had, but I know he didn't want to do H2 at all until he finally had I got an idea, I could do a second one, but he definitely was done after 2, like especially with the ending, that he had. So I don't know. I remember they were talking about it, like we're gonna do a Halloween 3D and there's other bullshit. Yeah, there was other bullshit. So I don't know. I don't know if the studio would have carried on with that. It's hard to say. If they were received really well, they would have convinced Rob Zombie to come back. You know, I mean, money talks. I mean, if it would have been like oh my God, this is the best one since 1978, and he's like, holy shit, people love it. You know, he would have done 2 a lot differently, I think.
Yeah.
I think there would have it would have turned out slightly different, but it just depends on how much more successful you're talking about. Because it was financially they were pretty successful.
Yeah.
But I don't know where you could go after Halloween 2. Some people didn't even like where he went after Halloween 1. So I don't know.
I'll even expand on that and say that I think that's a big reason why this movie has so much buzz, is because we're not getting the Rob Zombie version of Myers. We're getting OG Myers, and the last time we saw that was 2002 with Resurrection, which was a complete shitfest. So it's kind of like, for me anyway, it gives me chill bumps just the thought of seeing OG Myers back on the big screen again. You know, that's kind of my thing. I like Rob Zombie's movies to an extent. I actually enjoy Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 if I don't call it a Halloween movie. To me, it's like, I almost think of it like, if you've seen High Tension, that's kind of the vibe I get from Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. It's just got that really gritty, dark, eerie vibe, and Michael Myers doesn't feel like Michael Myers in that movie. It just feels like a completely different type of film. So I'm glad we're getting back to OG Myers. So,
yeah, I think no matter how successful Rob Zombie's movies were, financially or reception-wise, there would have still been filmmakers and screenwriters that have been, would have been tossing some ideas around. I wonder if we could do something where we could go back to 1978 and do something here. Like, we would have got something.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of when.
Mike and Jay, I'm going to give you a 2-parter here, okay, since there's 2 of you. This is from Robbie Sobel. He says, if you could pick one character to become canon in a new sequel, like any character from the previous movies, who would it be, and who would your hall pass Halloween girl be? This should be fun.
I go immediately, and I don't know why. Maybe this isn't even the correct answer, and maybe if I sat down and picked it apart, I'd have a different one. But for some sick fucking reason, I've always just wanted to be like, what the fuck happened to Josh Hartnett? Like, what, what happened to Laurie's goddamn son? You know, like he was like, he went on to film The Faculty. I don't know if that was before or after or what, but I've always just wanted to see him. And whenever I've thought about, like, I've never done it, but whenever I've been like, hey, I'm going to write a fan script for Halloween, I'm like, Josh Hartnett's character. I'm going to take him and have. I always thought maybe Myers attacking, like, maybe he's moved on and he's in the fucking woods somewhere and he has his own family. And then thought, like, what if Michael Myers just showed up after all these years, going after him? So that's mine.
For your.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with. I always wondered, like, where Paul Rudd would have gone.
Ant-Man.
I fucking found the Ant-Man costume right after that when he's I'm gonna be a superhero. No, I was always wondering Paul Rudd, and can't remember her name. That actually would be the chick too for the I know it's a 2-parter question, but the red hair girl from Halloween 6. I wanted to know their story, like where they both went after. I mean, they had the baby. Like, I know it's kind of like the whole thing was, fucking mashed potatoes of craziness in Halloween 6, but. Like, from that one, if you're going to make a sequel to that, like that direct sequel, where did those 2 characters wind up with that kid? And is there any sort of, like, residual shit? Because they had that thorn symbol on it. I mean, do we need to take this kid back to the orphanage and trade it in something else? Like,
for a pack of Kit Kats or something.
Or a Kit Kat, or, like, I don't know what happened. But, yeah, those 2, for sure. Like, I mean, I thought that Paul Rudd was awesome in Curse of Michael Myers. And I would have loved to have seen the development of that character later on in a sequel.
Look, get me a doctor now.
I mean, Tommy Doyle. I mean, it was Tommy Doyle. Like, I mean, just moving on with Tommy Doyle's story.
What do you mean by hall pass girl?
That was
if your wife gave you a hall pass, which Halloween girl would you like to, I guess, spend the night with? I don't know.
Oh yeah. No. I'm
Who's at the top of the fucky list?
Yeah. Cody, it doesn't beat around the bush. That's why I had him here.
Speak your mind, Lee.
I fucked everyone's mind up. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna be a little bit different because I know a lot of people would say Danielle Harris.
Not
Halloween. Rob Zombie's
Zombie,
Danielle
okay.
Harris. Rob Zombie's Danielle Harris.
sure he rolled
Jesus, you guys.
What did this stream just turn into?
No. I would go Scout Taylor Compton, man. I think that, and you know what? I would go H2 Scout Taylor Compton, where she's a little fucked up in the head. She's crazy. I kind of like that. Yeah, that's right.
Freaky shit.
Yeah. What's yours?
What?
What's yours?
I thought I answered. I said the red-haired chick.
Oh no, my bad.
Yeah, like because she's like a cool girl.
Yeah.
You can hang out with, have sexual with, but then maybe take her. Like, your mom can meet her.
I'm with you.
It's all right. If you're gonna go crazy with it though, like that one gothic chick from Halloween 2, Rob Zombie, that they're all hanging out with, like Scout Taylor Compton's Damaged. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, the one who dies with Wolfman in the van?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd take that.
Or Wolfman with the mask on.
No, not him.
Wait,
what?
Is this live?
Yeah.
Yes. I usually edit those kind of things.
It's okay. Okay. All right. But yeah, that's it. Okay.
Kathleen Kinmont. Okay. Next one. Let's see. That was fun. I told you it'd be fun. All right.
Got into that one.
The next one is I'm going to ask this one to I don't know if I want to ask this one to Jay, though, because he's the purist. You know what? I'll take this one. How about that? I'll take this one. Victoria Rasmussen.
Take one, Lee. Fuck.
Right? Damn it.
Shimon.
Favorite timeline, Danielle Harris as Jamie or Annie? Okay, I'm going to take this one. I'm a Thorne cult fan. My first movie in the theater was 4. I bought into that storyline. I was all about it. So if I had to pick like a trilogy of Halloween that I really love, I do like the Thorne trilogy. It's fun. And as far as like which version of Danielle Harris I prefer, that's a tough one because her death scene in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is a great scene. Like, it's heartbreaking. And I like that she really poured her soul out in at least that second movie. But Jamie Lloyd, to be a kid actor in a Halloween movie, that's a tough thing to do, and she did it. I think she did a great job. She was anchored by Ellie Cornell, which is one of my favorite Halloween characters, by the way. So I guess I would choose Jamie Lloyd just because I don't know, I found that whole storyline with her really interesting, even though they kind of shit on her in Halloween 6. But I would have liked for her to survive and maybe save the day at the end of Halloween 6 or something like that. So that's my answer on that one. I'll go to the next one to Dave here. This is from Daryl Haynes. He wants to know if Halloween 7 did end up going direct TV route where it was headed before Jamie Lee Curtis got involved. Do you think it could have been fun, or would it have been the death of the franchise like the Hellraiser series? Dave, what are your thoughts on that one?
I'm sorry. Did he ask, are you talking about Halloween H2O?
He's asking if Halloween the franchise went direct TV or direct to TV to video instead of do you think there was some potential there to still have some good movies, or do you think that would have pretty much just been the death nail of the franchise until the Rob Zombie ones?
Okay, no, I'm just trying to understand the question. So if after Halloween 6, if they had made, like, instead of H2O being a theatrical release,
correct,
if they had taken it to television instead?
Not to television, but to direct to video. You go to the video store back in the day. Yeah,
I see what you're saying. Oh, it would have been the death of the franchise.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty easy one.
Name one franchise that is like, you know what? Let's just go straight to DVD with this one. It's going to research everything, man. Let's just do it right fucking now. I mean, there's no franchise. I mean, look. I mean, take your pick. I know what you did last summer.
Yeah.
There's no. It would have been that would have been a huge mistake. And Halloween's not a property where you have to do that.
No,
it's not. It's too large of a property to. Yeah. I mean, if you're starting to make, if you're starting to go, the Nicolas Cage route and making all these B movies and all this kind of shit, it's like, fuck. Yeah, no. And of course, that was at a time that obviously, that wasn't happening. But no, if they had gone direct to, and of course, that was before DVD. So you would have had to have been like, if they had gone, straight to VA. Well, I guess DVD was around, but it was in its very early stages. So the direct to DVD, I don't think we really had direct to. Well, no, that's not true. We did have direct to VHS. Yeah. No.
Well, I think, just to expand on that, I think the only movie that did not get a theatrical release that was semi successful was Cult of Chucky, and Entertainment Wizard just brought that up.
That's what I was thinking of too. Was the Chucky franchise has pretty much just been like, that's what we're fucking doing.
Yep.
Now it's gonna be a
no, it wouldn't have worked for
TV
Halloween.
series or some bullshit. I don't know.
No, you have to. I mean, you'd have to what are you, right? Like you have to. Once you start going to direct to DVD, I mean, it becomes a whole different ballgame in the sense of quality, in the sense of expectation, and that's not to say that you can't make good movies that go direct to DVD, back in 1998, if they had ended the series with H2O, I don't like H2O really, but if they had ended it there, just ended it, and decided to reboot it in 2018 or something to that effect, well then fine.
Yeah,
that's exactly right, because going straight to VOD today is a lot better than straight to VHS back in H2O years.
Yes,
that was like,
exactly.
oh, this definitely sucks shit. There's no chance
Exactly.
it's going to be false.
There
Today,
wasn't the market
goes
for
to VOD, it's like, it could be good,
It could be all right. There wasn't the market for it. I mean, look, Resurrection killed H2O. Halloween 5 killed Halloween 4. I mean, a direct to DVD would have been. Yeah, no. It's a one and done. I don't even know why I'm still talking about it.
Stop talking, Dave. I got one for Mike here. This is from Mother Mayhem, our good friend, and she wants to know. Now, this doesn't directly involve the Halloween franchise, although it could. A child that you adopted and one that you would the good son off of a cliff. I guess that could be from any franchise. So. Mike, or anybody really, because whatever comes to your mind, a child in horror that you would adopt, and then one child that you would toss off a cliff. For me, I guess the toss off a cliff would be Damien from The Omen. That's the only one I can think of.
Oh shit!
So like you got to. It's like the marry, fuck, kill. Only you kill a child and then let one live.
Yeah,
right. And I'll say Jamie Lloyd. That's my pick for let her live, and I'll kill Damien. Okay.
Yeah. No, killing Damien's smart.
Yes.
Yeah. That's not good business. I'm gonna kill that kid from the. I'm gonna kill that kid from the Babadook because he's fucking annoying.
Oh
right?
hell yeah! That's the one thing that I did not like about that movie.
But Kill B would be the little kid from Halloween 5. That.
Oh yeah.
You know the pirate. You fucking pirate kid. Like, what's your problem? He would die.
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep Jamie Lloyd alive. Yeah, for sure.
Damn, that's a strong choice. I like what you've done there, Jim. I was gonna say I actually was on board with you because you said kill the kid with the Babadook, right? Yeah. But damn, Lee, like I was gonna say adopt Damien because he's got all the winning tickets. I mean that motherfucker, he's gonna be a soccer player. Like I'd probably adopt him. Like shit, like maybe like take him out to the park. Like look, it's not all evil. Like maybe one day when you get a little bit more, maybe like Xavier. I'd be his Charles Xavier, like control his mutant power. I don't know. But yeah,
that kid from Halloween 5 though, he had like one chance to shine, and it was a stuttering line, and they gave it to Jamie Lloyd. Cookie.
And he was always getting up in the business. Like Loomis is having this intense, conversation with Jamie, and that fucking kid's just like, "Hey, I'm a pirate." Like,
just taking up space. No purpose whatsoever.
Well, I mean, you know what? It's obviously the Babadook kid as far as the most annoying that you would good son off.
Yeah.
But what about Danny, the original Danny from The Shining? Like Red Rum, Tommy. Like that's like come on, you kill him? I don't know. I might not go pick him up in the maze.
Yeah.
Learn your own way out. Like, I don't know.
I'd kill the kid from The Sixth Sense.
Oh, Haley Joel Osment. There you go.
Just kill him.
This shit's
you see, you could kill the kid, and Bruce Willis's character would still be able to see the kid because, spoiler alert, if nobody's seen the fucking Sixth Sense, because his character's dead.
Yeah.
So if you kill the kid could also be dead. But I mean, actually kill the kid.
Yeah. No, really quick though, just because I have to kill this kid in effigy. The fucking rapping kid from The Visit. Yeah. Just kill him. I want him to die.
Oh yeah.
That's all. Sure.
Yes.
That wasn't like talent at all. I don't know.
Technically, he's a teenager, but let's just fucking kill him.
Yeah.
I agree.
Agreed.
So, guys, we've went 2 hours, and I did not expect that for talking about the trailer in general. and I know everybody has lives, so here's what I'm going to do. I think for the franchise, what we could do, well, A and B. What we could do is I'll go to each of you and you just give me your spiel about what you think about the franchise in general, maybe your favorites, or we could table this and maybe do another stream in a month and just do it on the franchise itself. And I'm not going to ask you for an answer now, but just for the second time, because I know you guys have lives, I got a life, but this was amazing. This was so fun. What do you have coming up, Cody, in the future on your channel?
Me and Brian Lomax got like a little twofer. On his channel, we have top 5 science fiction sequels, and on mine, we have top 5 John Carpenter films. Probably within the next week or so, we'll release that. I think Brian just started editing, so we have that. What's new coming out? Fuck, I don't even know. Incredibles 2, I might do that. I don't know. But I'm really trying to focus on Patreon requests right now, trying to get those because I've got a lot of them backed up. So I'm going to have Joyride coming out, the Behind the Mask, Rise of Leslie Vernon. I think Army of Darkness is on there as well. Poseidon Adventure, Red Heat. Got a couple non-horror ones. So yeah, that's mostly what to expect from my channel right now is Patreon requests. So nothing like... I'm eventually, probably late July, early August, I'll do the Scream series for summer. That's 4 movies, so that's pretty easy. And then, like I've already said before, sometime in September, I'm going to start doing the Halloween movies leading up to the new one.
And I'll just say, talk about Patreon. I know all 4 of our channels, we have very loyal patrons, and I just for everybody, I just want to say thank you to the patrons that make all our channels what they are. I don't know about you guys, but it just gives me a little bit more. I don't know. I feel like I want to put out the best product I can, and a big reason for that is my patrons. And they all a lot of times they give me ideas that I would have never thought of in the first place. So yeah, just wanted to say thank you to the patrons. Yes. Mike and Jay, what's on the horizon? Because I know you guys are busy as hell with your channel. What's on the horizon for you guys?
Tons of shit, man. It's just like Cody said, the Patreons is a big thing. Like, we've got a bunch of those to keep up with. We've got, and we're starting to give people the options between whether they want reviews or commentaries. So we've got a Night of the Living Dead, the 90s version of it, commentary coming up. Yeah, we've still got to do the Scream 3 commentary, which is just something we're doing. We've done 2. We got to do 3 and 4. We're still doing some random ass Michael and Loomis vids that we like to pop out there sometimes. Some weird shit that we can think of to where my wife gets pissed because we broke something in my house.
Yeah, that last one that we just did actually was there was no skit or sketch involved. Like I came over like to Mike's and we were getting ready to film. Mike's like, by the way, dude, I got this good idea. Like, let me stand in the closet and you beat the fuck out of my face with the closet door over and over again. You remember that scene in the trailer? Like, it's like, okay, it sounds good. Let's do it. And that was it. So yeah,
that was one of the easier ideas.
And that was that was perfect. Yeah, I know. It was perfect. It was good times. So just and then I'm also thinking about going into crocheting.
Basket weaving, maybe.
The eating videos where you just watch us fucking eat. It's gonna be great.
Awesome.
That's funny.
Dave, what do you got? What do you got coming up?
Not a fucking thing, Lee.
No, well, my channel is really interesting. Like I was saying to Lee at the beginning of the feed, I think before Mike and Jay got here, and Cody, I think you had stepped out, I think, for a second. I was saying that I admire you guys for the amount of work that you guys do with the reviews and this kind of stuff. It's not easy. I mean, I did, like, when the Halloween trailer dropped this past weekend, or last weekend, I should say, I uploaded something like 8 videos in 4 days or something crazy like that. And at the end of the weekend, I'm like, I'm like, how do you guys do it? So, like, I'm not a formal movie reviewer, as I often say. So I have a great appreciation for the volume of which you upload. And but I did start a Patreon because I wanted to start factoring the channel into my day-to-day. as well as the VO work that I do. And so far, it's coming along. And I also have, but a couple things that I have some ideas. I'm going to start doing my top 10 favorite modern horror movies and my top 10 favorite old school horror movies. That's sort of on the horizon. And also my buddy Bruce, who works in the film industry as well. I had him on a live stream. I think when the images were first released a week and a half or so ago. He happened to be over because we were going to see Solo. And he jumped on with me. He works for William F. White International here in Toronto, which is the largest distributor in Canada for motion picture, theatrical, and TV equipment. So when Hollywood comes up to Canada and Toronto, they usually go to White's to rent all of their gear. And, you know, some films that they've done, of course, is It and Pacific Rim, and they're doing the new Star Trek TV show right now and things like that. So anyway, I'm going to have him on, and we're going to talk shop. And we'll probably do like a live feed and we'll talk about the industry and things like that. So that's on the horizon as well. And just anything I feel like fucking talking about. If something, something grinds my gears. Yeah, something that's what's so great. If something grinds my gears, or I might do like a pet peeves part 3 or something. I don't know. I just like to keep my channel chill and whatever I want to talk about. Like I'm more of a commentator on things. Mostly movies, obviously, because that's what I know and love. But yeah, so that's sort of, you know, just typical Dave McRae shit.
I actually love your approach to movies, though. You say you're not a reviewer, but like your Solo, I guess, review that you did, my son actually watched that, and he was just like, wow, this is he's saying everything that I'm thinking, Dad. And I was like, that's Dave McRae. He's so,
hopefully I didn't drop any F-bombs. I
don't think you did, but if he's heard a few of those, so it's okay.
All right. I apologize in advance if I have.
No, but yeah,
it's a recording.
I kind of like that commentating type of review anyway. You know, it's just that's kind of the approach I took to Hereditary, where usually I'll kind of chop things up and put my points out. Where with Hereditary, I just sat down and I was just like, I'm kind of going to go the Dave McRae route, even though I didn't plan on it, because I just want to kind of just sit down and have a discussion about this movie. Which
well, that's something that it's like what you guys do is great, and it's valuable, and it definitely is what people want. I mean, there's an audience that wants to know from beginning to end, you know, what you thought of this and this, you know, and it's fantastic. But for me, I think, and I'm sure you guys can relate. Yeah. One of the things that I try to let my viewers know is that don't come to me to find out what you think. You know, like, I mean, there's so many people that expect me to sort of confirm their biases. And, you know, I'm going to tell, like I've had to say, I like Halloween 5. That's great. I'm glad you do.
I like it. I don't understand what you don't like.
And they usually are yelling.
And they literally are yelling. And then some people got offended by me doing that voice. And I'm like, I'm making fun of myself. I'm part of the fandom. You know, I'm part of this world. I'm being satirical, right? To make a point. I'm you know, I'm not, it's not personal. But yeah, like I always tell people, I'm not here to confirm your biases. I'm going to tell you what I think. And if you agree with me, that's great. And if you don't, well, that's okay too. Yeah. But I think when you take that approach, you sort of loosen the expectations up a bit. Because I have no doubt with you guys, I don't want to speak for you, but I have no doubt, I can only imagine with the thousands of subscribers you guys, if I'm getting it with just over 8,000, I can only imagine what Mike and Jay are getting with 40,000 and what you guys are getting in, you know, the low teens of the people, and the, you know, that you know, will mess, and most of the people are great, but you have, you know, your odds that will message you and they're trying to sort of, they don't understand. They're like, yeah, but it's this, you got to see it. And I say, yeah, it's okay. You see it that way and it's fine. I don't.
You know, I had a viewer tell me to kill myself because I liked.
That's constant.
Yeah, kill yourself because you like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And my reply to him was, I want you to live forever.
Well, I just had a comment now on one of my videos, the last one that I uploaded, where it was 78 Myers watches the 2018 trailer.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it was laugh my ass off. You look like a sucker. Big head, little body.
Those are the best, though. Those are fun.
Oh my god!
Yeah. Now my strategy is I pin
about
those.
doing a video where I read all of, like, you know, the backlash.
Yeah. And they won't comment on the actual what your video is about.
Like, they won't even comment about what you're talking about. They'll just say, "You look like shit." You're fucking bullshit too.
I have you're 100% right. And as my father once said, my dad, who passed away in 2011, he was a very prominent Canadian journalist. And so I grew up in a media family, and my dad was a bit of a provocateur, was some of the things that he would write.
Yeah.
And he knew exactly what he was doing, but he was a great writer, that being said. But one time when I was very young, he said to me, I'm paraphrasing, but he said to me, Dave, the question is not whether they like you or hate you. The question is, are they reading you?
That's it.
And
That's it.
I take that, it's like, the question is not whether they like me or hate me. The question is, are they watching me? Because I get people all the time, I'm not watching you again. A couple of videos later, what the fuck was that?
Oh, yeah, I got those too.
Exactly.
I got my dedicated trolls too.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. So anyway, yeah, that's sort of what I have on the horizon. Just doing my thing. Yeah.
Cool. Well, guys, I got to say, it was such an honor to have you guys. You guys made this easy for me because I was nervous all day. Mike and Jay, I've told you guys this before. You're the reason why I'm doing this. So
Don't die now, please.
I know.
Not right now.
That was an epic.
Yeah, after this, I'm cutting my channel off. It's over. I'm done.
You guys are the reason why.
Fuck it. We'll do it live. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Fuck it, we'll do it live. Fuck it
Stupid
now.
fucking thing sucks. Okay. And with that, we're gonna say goodbye, guys. We shall see you on the horizon when the new movie comes out. I want to definitely get a stream for that, and maybe something in between to talk about the franchise. I'll seduce these guys and see if I can make that happen. But hey, guys, everybody have a great night, and yeah, toodles.